Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to the start of an all new series, today jumping in with the F1 Fantasy mod. Yes, of course, if you missed out on the video that I did a couple of weeks ago with this mod, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But of course, with my team all wrapped up, I wanted to do a bit of a fun, a bit of a kind of less serious, short series to finish out the year here inside F1 25. So we're going to be jumping in with a 10-race quickfire season, hopefully over the next few weeks, and I'm actually running it in the Apex GP team. Yes, I'm running this through the My Team mode inside of the game. Honestly, we're not going to be looking at much going on in the background. This is just going to be a one-season championship, 10 races, and hopefully is going to be good fun, and just something a little bit different. Of course, yeah, like I said, I'll make sure I leave a link to the F1 Fantasy mod down in the description below if you want to take a look at it. It changes a huge amount of things inside the game, including the teams, including the drivers, as well as a couple of other bits and pieces. So Isaac Hadjar is over at Red Bull alongside Lando Norris. Lando Norris has stayed at McLaren. Charles Leclerc over at Ferrari, but Carlos Sainz is back at McLaren inside this game as well. Valtteri Bottas is with the all-new Volkswagen team. Verstappen has gone to Mercedes AMG T-Mobile. Andrea Kimi Antonelli is down at Ferrari. George Russell is at Genesis Magma Racing. Pierre Gasly down at Repsol Williams. Nico Hülkenberg over at Monster Ford Andretti. Franco Colapinto actually alongside Isaac Hadjar at the Red Bull team. And then Esteban Ocon is George Russell's teammate inside of the series as well. You've got Paul Aaron and Ollie Behrman over at Rocket Rodin. Gabriel Bortoleto is down at VW alongside Bottas, with Richard Verschoor and Pepe Marti down at Chip Ganassi. Alex Albon is at Mercedes AMG T-Mobile. Oscar Piastri is over at Monster Ford Andretti as well, with Yuki Tsunoda down at Repsol Williams. I am Sonny Hayes for this series, just for the sake of it. And then we've obviously got Joshua Pierce as our teammate as well there. Like I said, we've got a 10-race season. It'll kickstart today in Albert Park, Australia, before we head out to the Middle East for the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Monaco, of course, the jewel in the Formula 1 crown. I know I don't normally run it inside this game, but hopefully for this one, it's going to be good fun. Austria and then Silverstone before we head to our one and only sprint race out at Belgium. Monza, of course, the Temple of Speed before the Singapore and Las Vegas Grand Prix to finish out the campaign. I tried to pick 10 circuits that A, provide good racing, but also might allow some interesting stuff to happen as well. They kind of can be a little bit unpredictable as well. And just quickly, if we take a look at the performance of the car, Apex GP is actually pretty competitive inside this series. We are just behind Santander McLaren and Nismo Red Bull, just ahead of Ferrari and Mercedes as well. And then you can see Genesis, Rocket Rodin, VW, Chip Ganassi, Repsol Williams, and Monster Ford Andretti at the rear of the field then. So hopefully this is going to be a little bit of good fun. I'm normally just going to focus on the races inside of this series as well. But of course, I'm going to try and do some background admin-y bits as well. Not that it should be too critical. But yeah, without further ado though, let's head out to the Australian Grand Prix. Formula 1 is back then, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Australian Grand Prix. The start of an all-new season, all new teams, all new drivers. I am incredibly excited to be joining you here from the Albert Park circuit. All of that winter testing, it means nothing if you can't survive the 3.28 mile Albert Park circuit, a bumpy street circuit here in downtown Melbourne. And a fun fact, it's actually a track that I've driven before in real life as well. Sadly, not during a Grand Prix weekend, but I've got to take what I can inside this game. Taking a look, though, at our grid for the opening race, then, of the all-new campaign. Of course, always a great indicator to see what speed is like. Lando Norris will line up on pole position ahead of Isaac Hadjar in his Nismo Red Bull, joining him on the front row. Less than a tenth of a second in it between our top two. Franco Colapinto and Andrea Kimi Antonelli make up row 2 ahead of Verstappen and Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc there ahead of the VW pair of Bottas and Bortoletto. You can see Pierre Gasly just outside of your top 10, ahead of the likes of Hulkenberg and George Russell there. Joshua Pierce down in P15, with Alex Albon and Yuki Tsunoda making up the 9th row of the grid. Richard Verschoor and Oscar Piastri on row 10 with Pepe Marti and Ollie Behrman. A mistaken qualifying for him means he will line up at the rear of the field. A lot of work to do for him. Of course, a 22 car field today and all new teams, an exciting driver roster. McLaren and Ferrari, of course, always there in the sport, but the all-new Apex GP team as well. What can Sonny Hayes do inside of this game? What can Joshua Pierce do as well? Pre-season pace looked pretty good for the team. They seem to be fairly competitive up and down the grid as well, and well, getting one of those cars into the top 10. Sonny Hayes there, a brilliant lap during qualifying yesterday to get the effort done on what was a very, very soggy Saturday afternoon. Let's head down to the track. Well, here we are then, our very first race of the all-new mod, and I must admit, obviously, in that first video I did, it didn't have the handling update that Kevin had done to the game as well. So after a slightly slippery qualifying session yesterday, I feel like I've learned a lot more about the car and what we can expect. But obviously it's a bit of an unknown. We don't know how these Continental tyres are going to fare over a race stint as well. Obviously, you know, Australia is often the track where you stay quite bunched up, so maybe it's going to really struggle in the heat as well around this track. But happy to start the season with a top 10, and let's see what we can do then as we head into the race. The vibrant lights are on, and it's the lights out, and away we go then for this season opener. Gabriel Bortoletto getting a good start as Bottas, or maybe leaving a door open down the inside in towards turn 1 there. Of course, his return to the sport, and a bit of a sluggish getaway for the VW driver there, as we will go side by side with the Brazilian of those first couple of corners, and immediately then trying to just make up some ground as well. Don't go into the back of Charles Leclerc's Ferrari there, of course. Pretty much every team has seen a major rebrand with this mod, but Ferrari is always Ferrari, you know. I think it would be sacrilege to try and obviously modify that team as well inside of the game there, but it looks like then one of those Nismo Red Bulls has been able to take the lead up at the front of the order. I believe that might be Isaac Hadjar then, has immediately jumped up into P1 as here goes Max Verstappen in his Mercedes, trying to look around the outside of Charles Leclerc, not quite able to try and get a run there, as both of them getting a little bit caught up behind Carlos Sainz, as Leclerc just struggles with the understeer. Whoa, down the back straight. Are we going to be able to have a look in? No, we'll back out of that one. Don't want to risk any damage to the car on this opening lap there as well. Leclerc just about back out. But immediately then, you know, you've got to try and at least get your elbows out, showcase to everybody else that you are here to fight. And of course, with this being such a short season as well, you know, picking up big points early on is going to be critical. You cannot afford to have a weekend off inside this game, as there goes Leclerc to the inside of Verstappen, well, back towards turn 1 there, and once again, the Dutchman able to defend from him through turn 1. Isaac Hadjar still leads, though, up at the front of the order, but Lando Norris is going to try and give him a run for his money. Well, has Verstappen been able to stay in the DRS of the cars in front? Yes, he can, but that is still not going to stop Charles Leclerc and I from both trying to get a run to the outside of the Red Bull. So he does just about back out there. Clearly, Verstappen struggling a little bit early on in this race, but Leclerc now definitely not in the range of Carlos Sainz, who's been able to scamper back up the road towards that top group. Does look like the AI can spread out a little bit more. It is meant to be a little bit more tricky to kind of stay in the dirty air of the car in front of you for too long, but I mean, Australia has never been a particularly bad track, especially obviously with its more recent updates, to try and, you know, hang on to the car in front of you. But like I said, this first race is really more about learning, settling in, and, well, honestly, I'd just be happy if we picked up some decent points. Oh, there you go. Carlos Sainz now trying to have a look around the outside of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Must admit, Antonelli at Ferrari would be such a fascinating move to see in the future as well. There, of course, you know, had a couple of really good races towards of F1's IRL season. So Leclerc there, oh, you got to be so careful. Right when you get under the rear wing of the car in front, you can lose so much braking performance. And even there, you just see the back end slip sliding around as we will try and go for a bit of a cheeky send on Charles Leclerc through the final couple of corners. Quite going to be able to do that one, but you can see how much the car is moving around underneath you. As Bortoletto now in that VW has jumped Max Verstappen a little bit further behind. So yeah, the Dutchman is really struggling. Right, come on then, let's try and use some straight line speed. This Apex GP car seems to be an absolute missile when we get out into the back stretch. So as we pull alongside Charles Leclerc, hopefully we're going to be able to make at least one move happen. As we have to dive to the outside of Carlos Sainz there. I think we were 3 wide temporarily, but we get the double overtake done then. Antonelli will obviously still have the DRS off of the corner, but he is now going to try and go and pursue Franco Colapinto up in P3 there, but it actually kind of incentivizes going for overtakes a bit more, because obviously if you stay behind the car in front, you have actually got less braking performance. Now, of course, as always, this is against 110 AI, but for the first time on the main channel, this series is also being done with strict track limits. I adopted it in the driver career mode, Season 4, obviously on Matt212 gameplay as well recently, so I am getting quite used to it for the most part, but still, you've just got to be really careful. Can we get a run on Antonelli here? No, we'll wait for the back straight. Well, based on the theoretical performance of this Apex GP car, I feel like we didn't do as well in qualifying as we possibly could have done. But as we blow around the outside of Andrea Kimi Antonelli then up into 3rd place. Sorry, up into 4th place even, I should say there. As what's the tyre wear doing at the moment? 22% on the rear. So I don't think tyre wear is too bad, actually, at the moment. So it should still be a one-stop race. But as we come to the end of lap 7 then, Franco Colapinto now looks to be trying to attack his teammate Isaac Hadjar. And it would seem like this race is going to be between Red Bull Nismo and Santander McLaren. But it looks like now Lando Norris maybe has just been able to jump away from these two. It is great to see some different drivers fighting up at the front of the Formula 1 order there, but trying to make our way through this middle sector though, hopefully. I mean, again, this Apex GP car seems to be ridiculously fast in a straight line against a lot of the other cars around us, so hopefully we can try and use that to the best of our ability there, as get on the battery nice and early and try and keep it mashed to the floors. To the outside of Hadjar we will go. He's got nowhere to go though, as we will fly past Franco Colapinto as well then, and up into 2nd place of this Grand Prix. So we've had a really good drive so far, able to pick up the pieces, able to get through other battles and kind of leave other cars fighting. But Lando Norris, he's still out in front, and he's on the harder compounded tyre as well, so his pace does look to be very good here. I think my plan is dive into the pit lane probably at the end of 12, maybe the end of lap 13, but just manage this rubber towards the end of the stint. It's not too bad still, 37% on that rear left, so it's not going to be fantastic, but it shouldn't be too bad either. There we go, Isaac Hadjar then, very early pit stop in this Grand Prix, in at the end of just lap 9. So I think he's going to be on a 2-stop here, as it looks like nobody else seems to be following him in. But yeah, Mark there just coming over the radio telling me that Lando Norris does look incredibly fast at the moment. So we've just got to try and manage these medium tyres at this stage of the race. But again, I still think we're doing a pretty good job. Ooh, okay, Lando Norris. Lando Norris from the lead of the Grand Prix then, so clearly pushing hard in that Santander McLaren, and he is going to dive in before I have. So he must be on a 2-stop strategy then, as Antonelli now up to 2nd spot here, as just trying to make sure that I don't get done for track limits at any point. But things looking very good for us at the moment then, as a few drivers may be beginning to struggle to stretch their stints. Could we, I mean, surely we can try and get to the end on this next set of tyres. They're not looking awful, but it's still not guaranteed. And of course, a safety car or anything like that really could change up the order. into the pits then we will come at the end of lap 12. I was tempted to try and go an extra one. I don't want to screw over my teammate Pierce in this race. There is no risk taken on pit lane entry there. Antonelli, he will now take the lead in his Ferrari. But as we dive in then, hopefully the team can give me a decent first pit stop of the year. And no, they haven't.
The left front wheel. We need to try and put that behind us though and finish this race strong.
Love that then, as Hajar's going to get the jump back on me. So is Valtteri Bottas and even Colapinto, I think. Nope, just Bottas and Russell just that ahead of us then. Oh, in this Grand Prix there is obviously very cold tyres, trying to get the power back down there, and that might leave us vulnerable to the Red Bull Nismo as well. I'm not going to try and defend from him too aggressively. It's just not worth it at the moment on two different strategies, as he is on the hard. So is Colapinto still going to try and stretch it to the end of the Grand Prix? I mean, Lando Norris is not out of this race either. He's still doing very, very well at the moment. But a Ferrari, an Italian in a Ferrari leading this race, I don't know when the last time that happened was, but it must have been a very long time ago. There we go then, starting to see a few more cars pour into the pit lane. So maybe we're just going to struggle towards the end of the afternoon. Obviously, we went a little bit more aggressive on this second stint there, as Verstappen in, as well as a couple of others, as Colapinto now trying to get around Valtteri Bottas's VW. I mean, depending on the popularity of this series, I could be tempted to obviously do another one, racing as, you know, one of the kind of new teams inside the game as well. I just thought running it as Apex GP, to be honest with you guys, I haven't got any driver career mode slots at the moment. So I had to do a My Team series, because I'm still waiting to wrap up the George Russell career mode. Obviously, once I've wrapped up that, then I've got another driver career mode slot inside of the game. So that was the main reason why I opted for this there, as Colapinto, well, incredibly slow out onto the back straight there, as George Russell in that Genesis there, going to try and get around the outside of him. And well, the slipstream is certainly incredibly potent inside this mod, because people are able to get moves done pretty nicely there. Can we get a run on Colapinto as well then? Obviously, he's still got the DRS, as he's going to try swing a bit defensive, a bit too late. Oh, contact! As we try and get down the inside there, as Colapinto kind of just turned across me a little bit. I wanted to give him a bit of a squeeze, but he kind of forced me to drag him off the road. As Joshua Pierce then into the pit lane. The final couple of corners, as you know, Colapinto definitely hasn't got damage in that contact there. We will still be ahead of Antonelli, but he is going to be quick towards the end of the race. And I still don't know what strat Colapinto's going with. Let's try and listen in. Can I just get an idea of what he's doing?
Tsunoda's ahead of you. Time last lap, 1 minute 23.3. Okay, they're on fresh hards. Okay, they've got 4 laps on their tyres. We think they've got 1 more stop.
There we go then, so no surprise there. Colapinto will be diving back into the pit lane again before the end. Just, of course, because a lot of the AI have swapped around, Mark doesn't quite know who's where. Here we go then, let's try and get a run on Colapinto once more. As whoa, I kind of completely forgot. Gabriel Bortoleto, though, still in that VW, actually having a very, very good race so far. Yet to pit, so is Carlos Sainz, so we should be back up into the podium places when those last couple of cars dive in. But yeah, I think Norris has already reclaimed the lead of the Grand Prix, so even though he needs to pit again, if he doesn't come out in much traffic, he will still be a threat towards the end of this race. So there you go then, immediately Sainz and Bortoleto both in for their stop, so they will be going to the checkered flag there, and it could still be a good weekend for them. But yeah, Hajar and Lando Norris way up the road now. So we've just got to wait for the race strategy to pan out. Colapinto still being a little bit awkward for me, as Antonelli, of course, he will enjoy fresh rubber right the way to the very end as well. So there's a lot of drivers still in the fight for the win. Well, there we go. There we go. Isaac Hajar back into the pit lane then. So back up into P2, as I would assume Lando Norris will re-emerge, or sorry, dive back into the pit lane, I should say, at the end of this lap. So Hajar's going to come out probably about 12, 13 seconds behind. Lando Norris is going to be probably still a good couple of seconds ahead of him. But at the moment, yeah, still I think our biggest pressure is going to come from Antonelli. As again, the tyres, they do kind of start to reach a bit of a cliff edge. Once you take them about 8 or 9 laps, they're manageable, But if you overcorrect, if you just judge it wrong, they will snap on you. There we go. If by magic, Lando Norris then into the pit lane as well. So this will be moment of truth time as Colapinto also dives it in from just behind us. It's actually a car just coming back out of the pit lane then, but back to the lead of the Australian Grand Prix there as Antonelli will move back up into P2. Maybe he can serve as a bit of a rear gunner here towards the end of the Grand Prix. Even Leclerc now back up to P3. Sainz is ahead of Lando Norris. So the two-stop strategy really has not worked out well for Lando Norris so far. But he should be insanely fast towards the end of the afternoon. It's actually Leclerc, though, at the moment that he's really flying along.
Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 18.9 seconds.
Oh, there you go, Lando Norris immediately now lighting up the timing screens as he sets a new fastest lap of the day. But I am really struggling to manage the tyres on this car at the moment. Antonelli has taken about a second out of me over the last couple of laps. But yeah, Lando Norris has taken 3 seconds out of me over the last couple of laps. So it's kind of interesting that both McLarens, both Ferraris, and both obviously Nismo Red Bulls have kind of converged on each other, or are still converging on each other towards the end of this Grand Prix. But when you take a look around the minimap as well, though, not that many cars staying particularly clumped up. So clearly the dirty air and the DRS effect does work a lot better in this mod. This is a lot more kind of like we'd see IRL, as Lando Norris now up into the podium places. This will be something we find this season. Two-stop strategies are a lot more viable than normal because the peak grip is just that much higher. 5 laps to go though, and this is the other thing. Because the DRS is so much more potent, Lando Norris does seem to be able to try and move his way through other cars a lot quicker. Antonelli now trying to put up a bit of a defense, but he is costing them both time in the process. And well, this is exactly what we need towards the end of the race there. But Hajar as well, fighting his way up through the order. He could still be a threat come the end of the GP for us. But if you've somehow been able to make Australia a really balanced race between a 1 and a 2 stop, goes to show just how much work has been put in kind of balancing this mod, making it really exciting here. Because yeah, 4 laps to go, less than 4 seconds to Norris. But of course, his tyres will also begin to hit the cliff. Oh, we've got yellows. I think that's Charles Leclerc. Looks like Charles Leclerc and Ferrari are going to be the first ones to suffer a mechanical failure then in this all-new series there, as pulling over out of turn 2. And Charles Leclerc, yeah, he will not be happy with that one. Ferrari will have to go back to the drawing board, work out just what went wrong. But yeah, there you go. Our first retirement of the year. Maybe not a surprise to too many. Oh, we got another one. We got another one going. A T-Mobile Mercedes now dropping to the wayside here. Max Verstappen out of the Grand Prix as well. So 2 heavy hitters out of this Grand Prix. It has not been the season opener that Mercedes would have wanted. But now, yeah, the Dutchman joining the Monegasque man out on the side of the circuit. But suddenly now, though, with just under 3 laps remaining, Lando Norris, I think the gamble by McLaren has worked out maybe just a little bit too well for him. We've got a bit of battery to try and defend ourselves, but I don't think we're going to be able to do a lot at this stage of the Grand Prix, as that Santander McLaren car looked on rails on Saturday afternoon in that slippery qualifying session, and once again looks to be on rails as we get late into the Grand Prix there. Make sure that he can't get past me through the yellow flags, but with just 2 laps to go, Hajar now has moved past Andrea Kimi Antonelli as well. And although we will try and do whatever we sensibly can, with how powerful the DRS is, sometimes you just got to accept that you have not got the speed to keep up there. As out of the final corner, here comes Lando Norris then. Is he going to have a look to the inside? Yes, he will. I'll try and give him a bit of a squeeze down towards the apex there through turn 1, but I mean, even then, I tried to brake late into turn 1, and Norris there, right around the outside, back up to the lead of the Grand Prix, he will go. He's left it late, but McLaren, they have faith in their 2-stop strategy, and it looks to have paid dividends. He's back in the dirty air. I just cannot stay close to him. And on to the final lap then, Lando Norris now just stretching his legs. finally has a chance to relax. He knows he's got the speed. He knows he's got the pace here on this final tour of the Australian Grand Prix there. And Santander McLaren, of course, it wasn't Alliance many, many years ago, if I remember correctly. But of course, then they went over to Ferrari. And obviously, Fernando Alonso couldn't quite wrap up a World Championship. Luckily for us, Norris gave me a little bit more DRS over the last couple of laps, and that might just have meant that I've got the gap over Isaac Hadjar as we get down in towards the final few corners. We might not be safe just yet, though. Maybe Hadjar can get a run off of that final turn, but as Lando Norris even laps one of our back markers here through the final couple of corners. McLaren are going to stand on the top step of the podium to kickstart the all-new series and the all-new campaign. Have I got enough to try and defend from Isaac Hadjar on the run towards the line? I think we just about will. P2 on debut.
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes.
And here he comes. It's all go, go, go for Lando Norris as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
Well, they kept us guessing during pre-season testing. We all wondered who it was going to be, and to have them draw it out here today, that they are the ones to beat, just goes to show that all the work they put in has really counted.
We had drama from start to finish, but in the end, there was only ever one that could take that top spot. He holds the trophy aloft, and why shouldn't he? A richly deserved win today for Lando Norris.
Well, there we are then. Lando Norris 3 seconds clear come the checkered flag. The two-stop strategy worked out beautifully for him, and he will be very, very happy to kickstart the new campaign with a victory. We come through for P2 ahead of Isaac Hadjar, and Andrea Kimi Antonelli just did not quite have the pace to hang on right at the very end there. Carlos Sainz, a bit of a lonely drive to P5 in the end ahead of Franco Colapinto, with Bortoleto, Pierce, Albon, and Paul Aron there gets himself into the top 10 as well, so a good job done by him. And despite VW looking pretty strong, neither of their cars, I believe. No, Bortoleto, did he end up in the points? No, Bortoleto obviously into your top 10 there. So ignore me come the end of the day. Just Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc that failed to see the checkered flag, and only Oscar Piastri that ended up one lap down. What does that do to our championship standings? Well, of course, it means that the drivers exactly the same as your final race results there. Quite a few teams able to get some points onto the board. Constructors-wise, though, Santander McLaren lead the way, 12 ahead of Nismo Red Bull, as we will be straight up into third ahead of Scuderia Ferrari. VW there just ahead of Mercedes, I guess in the battle of the Germans now inside this series, with Rocket Road in with a point on the board. Genesis Magma, Monster Ford Andretti, Chip Ganassi and Repsol Williams all failing to score a point here. Thank you all so much for watching, though. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns out in Bahrain. Hello everyone, and welcome back to round 2 of our Formula Fantasy 2025 career mode. This weekend, we are here at the Formula 1 Gulf Air Bahrain Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Australia, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. I taught you guys through all of the drivers, all of the teams, and of course we had a very exciting opening Grand Prix. So, Bahrain often promotes some good racing action around its 15 corners here, so I'm hoping that we can get another good race under our belt once again, and if possible, get another podium. Maybe, just try and get a victory as well. But of course, yeah, a very different circuit to the one we saw out in Melbourne. So it is going to be a tough test of the new Apex GP car. Taking a look though at the grid ready for this weekend. Once again, the battle on Saturday afternoon was between the McLarens and the Nismo Red Bulls. But Lando Norris, of course, race winner out in Australia, will line up on pole this time round just ahead of his teammate Carlos Sainz. So again, McLaren definitely look like ones to watch. Charles Leclerc, though, brilliant effort in P3 ahead of Max Verstappen, with ourselves there lining up in P5 ahead of Isaac Hadjar. Andrea Kimi Antonelli in P7 ahead of Valtteri Bottas, once again another top 10 in his VW. Nico Hülkenberg, Alexander Albon rounding out your top 10, just ahead of Pierre Gasly in that first Repsol Williams and Paul Aron. Franco Colapinto, Gabriel Bortoleto will make up row 7, just ahead of Joshua Pearce and Richard Verschoor. George Russell in his Genesis there down in P17, just ahead of Pepe Marti, with Yuki Tsunoda and Esteban Ocon in 19th and 20th, and then Oscar Piastri and Oliver Behrman rounding out the grid. Let's head down to the track then, and let's get this Grand Prix underway. Well, here we are then, down on the grid, ready for round 2 of the season from the Bahrain Grand Prix. Once again, it's going to be a 29-lap race ahead of us, but unlike Australia, the two-stop was the way to go in Albert Park, wasn't it? Lando Norris proved that when all is said and done. But we will be on the two-stop strategy as well today. Mediums for the first stint, mediums for the second stint, or I might swap that around to go hards in the middle. So we've hopefully got a bit of a tyre advantage towards the end of the day. I did do some practice on the softs. I just don't think they were the one to have around at this venue. But lining up then, just behind the McLarens, Leclerc, Verstappen, it's 5 red lights. And the Bahrain Grand Prix is go, go, go then, off to a fairly wheel-spinny getaway as we will try and manage down in towards turn 1. Norris, though, not getting off to a particularly good start, so it is going to be his teammate Sainz that immediately swoops through there as Hadjar and Antonelli both capitalising on my weak start as Verstappen and Norris now making contact. So Verstappen now even getting ahead of him, but look at that up the hill. He's going to try and find a way around Charles Leclerc as well, as there is a lot of kind of cars trying to find any avenue they can. Antonelli and Hadjar having a bit of a battle as well, as we will suddenly try to have a look around the outside of the Red Bull Nismo driver there. Can we get the car slowed down? Yes, we just about can. Got to remember to keep it inside track limits though through the early stages of this race. As I mean, Carlos Sainz, he was a bit of an anomaly out in, or a bit anomalous, sorry, I should say, out in Australia, but immediately vaulting himself up into the lead and trying to run away as early as he can there as Norris. I did see obviously quite a bit of contact between him and Verstappen, and he really does seem to be on the back foot there. Perhaps it's just trying to get those medium tyres fired up as Antonelli goes all the way around his outside through turn 11 and have the inside and the move done by the time they get up the hill in towards turn 12. So a very, very shaky start then for Lando Norris. Both of us know these medium tyres, they do take a bit more to try and fire up, but now maybe starting to get some temperature in them. It's down in towards that final corner. Can we just bide our time and hopefully see if we can capitalise as well there? Yes, we can. Norris no drive off of the final corner. There's 3 wide as we start lap 2. Are we going to make the double overtake happen there? As I mean, look at that Hadjar. Hadjar's going to make it 4 wide by the time we get in towards turn 1. I don't like the look of that. Hadjar cuts the corner. And look at that. Foreshadowing, if ever I've seen it there. Looks like, I think that was Norris's front wing that went flying there as we will get a big run back up the hill. But I just knew I didn't want to be in that spot down in turn 1. And immediately we avoided the instant there. Straight back up into P5, so we're back to where we started then in this Grand Prix, but a huge amount of chaos early on, and Lando Norris definitely in the wars.
Wake of the car ahead, try to get past as soon as possible.
From first on the grid, he is down to P7, and with a wounded car. And there we go, no surprise there, Lando Norris immediately peels into the pit lane at the end of lap 2, so he has got a very, very long afternoon ahead of him. As to the inside then, with Antonelli in towards turn 1. Bahrain really does seem to be quite tricky with these Continental tyres there. Just the different attributes they've got to them make it really, really difficult. Maybe it's just this car. But yeah, we are really, really struggling. As 4 drivers then from 4 different teams up inside your top 4. What can Verstappen and Leclerc do? Of course, neither of them saw the checkered flag out in Australia. And again, with only 10 races this campaign, getting the big results really does matter.
There appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
No. It's only lap 4. We're only on round 2 of the season. Please don't say I'm going to have a mechanical failure here in Bahrain. I take an ERS fault. I take anything but a mechanical failure in just round 2 of the season. As we try and make our way up through the top of the circuit. We had no kind of technical gremlins, nothing like that out in Australia. And I guess with Lando Norris way down the order, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, would it? But it would still be a nightmare.
It looks like a mechanical failure. We're going to have to ask you to find a safe spot to retire.
I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. Round 2 of this series, and we are out of the Bahrain Grand Prix on just lap 4. That has got to be one of the earliest mechanical failures I've ever seen on this game. And, I mean, there's no, I don't believe, any kind of tweaks to the reliability with this mod or anything like that. It is just pure bad luck on F125, as I don't know why the team are trying to do that. I mean, look at that! The engine is just smoking, and the team is still forcing me to drive back out of the pit lane. One thing I really hope they fix for F127 is making sure that kind of when you dive into the pit lane with an engine that's doing this, maybe, just maybe, the team don't force you back out onto the track.
Okay, this is serious. We need you to retire as soon as possible.
It's another victory and a champion's performance from Max Verstappen.
You always look back at a race like this and think, if I'd just made that mistake there or locked up here, there would have been contact. And every one of those overtakes is a moment where you have to absolutely nail it, perfect it, and that's exactly what they're able to do today. Great stuff indeed.
From lights out to the checkered flag, each and every driver has this moment in the back of their mind. Now it's time for their celebrations. Our podium, it awaits. But there can only be one on the top step. Your number 1, Max Verstappen.
Well, there we are then, from P6 on the grid, and a bit of a kamikaze move on lap 2. Isaac Hadjar will win the Bahrain Grand Prix there. Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, after their both mechanical failures in round 1, they will return to the podium here, just ahead of Franco Colapinto. Joshua Pearce, a brilliant drive to 5th in the end from 15th on the grid. Carlos Sainz ahead of Gasly, Antonelli, with Bottas getting his first points of the year, I believe, just ahead of George Russell there. Where did Lando Norris finish? Did he even finish the Grand Prix? No, he did not. So your top 2 from Australia, both failing to see the checkered flag this weekend as well. So that certainly means it is wide open in the Drivers' World Championship. Let's take a quick look then at how things are looking. Isaac Hadjar now 15 points clear ahead of Lando Norris at the top of the table. Colapinto up to P3 ahead of Verstappen. As look at that. Verstappen, myself, Carlos Sainz all tied on 18 points apiece, just ahead of Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc. Joshua Pearce, their consistency brings him up to P9 ahead of Bortoletto as Repsol Williams get their first points of the year. Bottas, Albon and Paul Aron all with points on the board though, as well as George Russell there getting Genesis Magma their first points as well in the sport. Ocon, Hulkenberg, both Chip Ganassis, Ollie Behrman, Yuki Tsunoda and Oscar Piastri all failing to get out of the starting blocks. Constructors-wise, though, Nismo Red Bull, 17 points clear of Santander McLaren. Apex GP, we are still ahead of Ferrari and Mercedes AMG T-Mobile. VW ahead of Repsol Williams, Genesis Magma and Rocket Rodin, all ahead of the 2 American teams of Chip Ganassi and Monster Ford Andretti. Again, a massive apology. You know, I can't really control it. If I have a mechanical failure that early on in the day, I can't restart the race. I can't try and do anything differently with it. you are just guaranteed to get a mechanical failure there. To avoid spoilers, though, for kind of people that haven't clicked on the video yet, because obviously this video is probably going to be about 12 minutes long, I'll make sure that I just add the thumbnail to the end of the video there to, like I said, try to avoid any spoilers coming out before people watch the video. But yeah, without further ado, though, we will return out on the Jeddah Corniche. Hopefully we can survive that race. Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 3 of the F125 Formula Fantasy Career Mode. Yes, we return this weekend here for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix out on the Jeddah Corniche on what has very, very quickly become one of Formula 1's fastest and wildest racetracks in all of the world. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Bahrain, honestly, it didn't go that well for us. We got the Apex GP experience, Sonny Hayes, we had a mechanical failure on just lap 4 out in Sakir, so I do apologise to all of you that sat down to watch that video. But I would like to say thank you as well, because you guys did kind of prevent the spoilers, which was very, very thankful as well. Here we are though, back for round 3 and another opportunity to try and score some points. 25 available over the 25 laps around this 27-turn circuit. But first of all, let's take a look as to how everybody lines up after qualifying yesterday. Once again, it was the McLarens that looked to be the team to beat, and it would be Lando Norris that would take pole position, but T-Mobile AMG Mercedes and Max Verstappen, they're joining him on the front row, so a brilliant effort by the Dutchman around a circuit that really does test driver skill above anything else. Lining up though P3, my teammate Joshua Pierce, a brilliant effort to go ahead of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. We will line up 5th for the second weekend in a row, just alongside Isaac Hadjar and just ahead of Franco Colapinto and Carlos Sainz. Gabriel Bortoletto for VW lines up inside your top 10, ahead of Charles Leclerc, Gasly and Richard Verschoor. Paul Aaron will line up 13th ahead of the second VW of Valtteri Bottas. It is both Genesis Magma cars on row 8 before Alex Albon in the second Mercedes there and Nico Hulkenberg in P18. P19 belongs to Oliver Behrman, who of course made his debut here a few years ago. Yuki Tsunoda and Oscar Piastri lining up then on the back row of the grid. A lot can happen in this race. I tell you what, a bit of a spoiler, it is a pretty crazy one. Make sure you stick around right to the very end, but for now, let's head down to the track. Well, already on the grid then, the second time in a row, lining up P5. Didn't work that well for us out in Bahrain, so I'm hoping that today we can have a bit of a cleaner drive and try and take some points out of Isaac Hadjar at the top of the table. Both myself and Lando Norris, though, will be gunning for him. So, yeah, it's obviously, you know, a DNF in round 2 is not ideal, but it does give us plenty of opportunities to try and recoup the points. Shout out as well, Joshua Pierce, who lines up 3rd. Brilliant effort by our teammate. But as we head then into the race, let's see how we get on. The 5 red lights are on. And it's lights out, and away we go there, off to a fairly clean getaway as Pierce will immediately try and cover off Andrea Kimi Antonelli down in towards turn 1. The second McLaren there of Carlos Sainz trying to have a bit of a look for a move on myself through those first couple of corners, but at least your top 5 exactly as we started. Isaac Hadjar, and that Nismo Red Bull seems to have gained a spot as well, so as we almost run through the back of Andrea Kimi Antonelli, just want to try and keep it clean and tidy through this opening lap. Now, Jeddah, normally on the F1 games, this venue incredibly easy, one of your best chances all year to win a race. With this mod, it has suddenly become a much more difficult circuit. Trying to hang near the cars in front is very, very difficult. The Continental tyres here as well just do not provide you enough grip, so you're kind of slipping and sliding around very quickly in a Grand Prix. So keeping out of the walls, keeping out of trouble is honestly going to be the key this afternoon. As Pierce there, maybe a little bit slow as we make our way out onto the back stretch. Oh, I don't want to go for anything down through here on this opening lap there as Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Oh, I mean, that's exactly what I'm on about there, sliding up against the wall. Just a little bit of an over-rotation there, and lucky that we're going to be able to keep the car away from any damage that time round. Genuinely quite happy with that save there as Antonelli now senses the opportunity and will move past our teammate. Maybe Apex GP, maybe we've set up these cars a little bit too quick on Saturday but too slidey for Sunday, as Norris still at the front of the order, but I think Verstappen's jumped him. Good to see Mercedes, after struggling, obviously, in the opening couple of rounds. Verstappen, he looks to be back this weekend. Luckily, with the exception of Hadjar, it feels like pretty much all of our front runners have had a mechanical failure so far this year. Obviously, Max did out in Australia, Lando and I did out in Bahrain, so it's only really Hadjar that's had 2 good races so far. As well, with this mod, the DRS is a lot more powerful than what you normally get as well, so we are going to see some big speed around this circuit as we make our way then down in towards that final corner. Once again, of course, the longest DRS zone of the lap, as Antonelli will lose 1 spot, maybe even will lose a second one, as Hadjar, in that Nismo Red Bull there, tries to have a look. We're getting all kind of slippery, skatey through that final corner, as once again, looks like Verstappen and Norris having a big battle up at the front of the order. So Antonelli, I mean, they are all trying to battle with each other, as Joshua Pierce there looks to try and defend down through turn 1 and turn 2. Can I try and get the power down and get around Hadjar? No, we can't. And whilst these guys are all putting on a show, I mean, I've got the best seat in the house. I may as well grab the popcorn. Everybody is just constantly up behind Joshua Pierce at the moment, so if we could find a way through, well, it would be very useful there. I mean, look at that wheel spin in 6th gear as the car still wanted to try and break free. As everybody weaving this way and that, trying to find the room. Hadjar trying to go for the double overtake down at that final corner. Can we try and get the power down, though, off the exit? It's Hadjar. Look at that, making his way through around the outside there. He's got no drive off of the corner, though, as Pierce and myself will both try and have a look back around his outside. Here comes Antonelli as well, as we will go late on the brakes in towards turn 1 there. Really tried to brake as late as I possibly could. Missed that first apex. Get away, though, through the exit of turn 2. And up then into 3rd spot. Can we try and scamper away through this first sector? Honestly, we might end up having to do a 2-stop here. The tyres already feeling incredibly slidey. Take a look at what the wear's doing. The wear's not too bad. We should be good. There we go. That's what I want to see. New fastest lap of the day.
Looking good. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, we have immediately broken out the DRS range of those cars behind as well. So with a bit of luck, Verstappen and Norris will continue to squabble, and that'll allow us to reel in the top 3. The car doesn't actually feel that different when you're in clear air here to how they normally do on F125. It is just the dirty air where there is so much more an effect. Well, I must admit, it is quite challenging, but it is good fun. Don't know if Verstappen's just beginning to struggle or maybe pushed his tyres a bit too hard and is now sitting in a little bit further back from Lando Norris, but either way, looked like for a moment he might have dropped out of the DRS range there against the McLaren car, so McLaren versus Mercedes, of course, not a battle that we see too often in Formula 1, but Lando Norris, of course, versus Max Verstappen. Bizarrely, I'm recording this before Abu Dhabi, so you guys will know who won the World Championship, how they won the World Championship, everything like that. At the moment, I've got no idea, so I'm going to predict it right now. I think Verstappen's going to win the Grand Prix. I think it'll be Oscar Piastri in P2, and Lando Norris in 3rd spot as... there we go. That'll mean Lando Norris is world champion. Yellow flag's out, though, and I think that's Andrea Kimi Antonelli that is out of the Grand Prix. So Ferrari, another mechanical failure for them after Leclerc retired, obviously, in the season opener. So there you go. That's actually worked out really nicely for Joshua Pierce because it's given him a 3-second gap to Leclerc further behind. Verstappen is definitely struggling now against Lando Norris just ahead of him, so we need to try and find a way around this Monster Energy Mercedes car. Oh, to the outside as Verstappen tried to make it as wide as he possibly could. We should be able to get all the way around him though, but he will have the DRS back in towards turn 1, I believe. And that will mean we are still going to be drag racing there. As like I said, the DRS is definitely a bit more powerful than what we see in the normal version of the game. We're still going to be alongside him though by the time we get down in towards turn 1. Around the outside we will go. And there we go, up then into 2nd spot. Well, there has been a real cat and mouse game between myself and Lando Norris as we get towards the pit window here. Just does not look like Verstappen has got the tyres to stretch them right at the end of this first stint. Team want me in now, though, but I think I want to try to extend one extra lap, just so we know the hard tyres will feel great all the way through to the checkered flag. We've got a big enough gap to Joshua Pierce further behind that it shouldn't affect his strategy at all.
Should be feeling the effects of some tyre wear soon, so stay on your toes.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling the effects of tyre wear there as that rear right tyre wear warning light is about to flash up on. I have not hit any walls, though, I don't believe, in this race, or if I have, it's certainly not been many. This is just the nature of this Continental tyre on this car, as we're just trying to get the car positioned exactly where I need it, skimming the barrier that time round. But hopefully we will live to fight another day once again. It's finally inside the DRS range of Lando Norris, so will be interesting to see whether he pits this lap.
Hit in this lap, and remember the speed limit. We'll be penalised if we exceed it. Keep that in mind as you
Hear
approach.
it. You can hear how careful we are having to be on the throttle, rolling on so smoothly. I probably should have got my throttle trace up ready for this race, because we are really having to try and be careful with the footwork. Obviously, it's something that you guys don't normally see. I could add a pedal cam to these videos if it's something you guys would like. I'm just not really sure if it's something any of you would be interested in. As there we go, Verstappen further back then. He's going to dive into the pit lane, I believe. But both myself and Lando Norris opting to go just one lap longer. Oh, we're really having to try and attack the circuit with some different lines here just to see if we can get as much clear air over the front wing of this car as we can. Joshua Pierce, though, really struggling further behind, ahead of Colapinto and Alexander Albon. So, yeah, tyre management has really been something I think everybody has suffered with so far today. Don't know whether Lando Norris, though, has had too many issues with it, as I want to try and get ahead of him before we get down into the pit box here. I'm not sure we're quite going to get the run. I'm going to look for it, though, to the inside of the Santander McLaren car, as we will get the move done then. And Lando kind of understanding in that moment it's not worth trying to hang around the outside there, as we make our way into the pit lane, just so I get the car slowed down. It's nice and tidy on the way in, but how much of an undercut maybe has Verstappen got in this race there? As, yeah, we're going to be 15 seconds ahead of Pierce. Surely that's not going to affect us, or not affect him, I should say. Oh, again!
Right front wheel. We need to try and put that behind us, and let's finish this race as strong as possible.
Well, there we go then. McLaren, after all of that hard work, they are going to get the jump back on us through the pit lane there, as the Apex GP pit crew have really let me down. Oh, Verstappen as well coming out just ahead of us, so he's had a pretty good undercut. Of course, he'll have tyres up to temperature as well, but I'm just not convinced the Dutchman is in the fight today, so I need to try and navigate him and close back down Norris. Just noticed Isaac Hadjar back out behind me, but I think he's got another pit stop to go in this race. So Red Bull Nismo have really tried to go aggressive on their strategy. Didn't think it's worth trying to stretch the one stop. So Hadjar will have to fly along towards the end of the afternoon, as we will get around the outside of Verstappen pretty much at the first opportunity there. Lando Norris, 2.2 seconds up the road. First of all, let's try and get Max out of the DRS range, which is much easier said than done. Even when you're using the overtake, you can just not pull away. Oh, there you go, another new fastest lap of the day. I've used a lot of battery to get it, but if it can bring us a bit closer to Lando Norris once again, very useful. I honestly think at the moment, though, you want to be the car ahead. You don't want to have to deal with the dirty air, because it just takes so much more out of the tyre. As it looks like Isaac Hadjar back into the pit lane then, so at least we know that the World Championship leader probably isn't going to score that many points today. But come on then, we've got inside the DRS range of Lando Norris. Let's try and settle this on the road nice and quickly. This time around, Norris will defend the inside line down towards that final corner. But again, he will be defenceless to stop us from getting all the way around his outside there. And well, if we can hold on back in towards Turn 1, which I'm not convinced we will, look at that drive that Santander McLaren car has got out of that final corner. Another new fastest lap of the day, as we will try and squeeze him right down to the wall. Norris, though, late on the brakes. I'll have to try and give him some room. Can I do the old up and under on the exit of the turn? No, we can't. And there you go, Norris there, just reminding everybody that he's here to fight. But look at that, we get a big run. Oh, down in towards turn 3 there. A little bit of contact between the pair of us. I think we'll both live to fight another day. But Norris again, not afraid to try and defend, not afraid to kind of not back out of it, if you will. and that could have been disastrous, as that is a disaster. Strict track limits. I've just ran a bit too wide through there a couple of times before, so now not only have I got to try and get the jump on Norris, I've also got to try and get 3 seconds ahead of him, so McLaren, I'm sure, will immediately be on the ringer. Just telling him, of course, we've got a penalty. He doesn't need to defend so aggressively. That's what I just see there. Sometimes you get away with it, other times you don't. Very, very peculiar. If the race were to finish right now, we would still just about beat Verstappen. So there is definitely an opportunity to try and build this gap up a little bit more. But Norris does seem in control. You know, at least, well, not in control necessarily, but at least able to match my pace with great ease there. As back around the outside of the McLaren, as again, he'll get a little bit sketchy with his defence, but we need to try and get the clear air. We need to try and get away from him. But Norris, of course, he could just quite happily now sit behind in the DRS right the way through to the end of the afternoon there, as once again trying to break the toe, defend the inside line. As soon as Norris swings out wide, we will try and defend it. Oh, maybe too late on the brakes again. Yes, we were. And once more there, we will lose the spot. And again, we just cannot afford to risk getting another warning or a penalty. Well, let's just be a bit more patient with it this time. Let's wait until we got out of that final corner and we can try and get a big DRS run back on Norris in towards T1. I mean, look at that. Oh, 250 miles an hour as Norris. A little bit of a late block there to try and defend the overtake attempt. That way we will return the favour and give him a big old squeeze in towards that first corner. But it has been Sector 1, where we have been mighty strong all evening here on the Jeddah Corniche, so we will try and see if we can get away from him. Of course, he'll now be the one dealing with the dirty air through these first couple of corners, but again, that McLaren just seems so planted. Oh no, I got no battery. I'm trying to use everything I possibly can to keep Norris at bay, but he is just controlling his pace. And I definitely think that McLaren car has definitely still got a decent margin of pace over our own. But yeah, Norris able to stick with us through that first sector, and that really does eliminate any real opportunity I've got of trying to break away. Right, we're going to try and play the games again with him. Lando Norris around the outside. He will re-inherit the lead of the race, but this time round I've got a lot more battery, so we can try and get back past him and power through back at turn 1. I just can't get over. I mean, that's not a great example, because I just skimmed the inside wall there, but I cannot get over how much speed that McLaren has got, how much stability it has around this venue. As a red flag or a safety car would be a disaster for us by the end. Really slamming the door, though, in Lando Norris's face that time round. He's got to get the message at some point. Oh, we've got yellows, we've got yellows. That seems to be... Is that a Red Bull Nismo? No, I think that's a Repsol Williams down at the first corner that maybe just went for a bit of a spin. Sure, there'll be obviously a replay up on your screens at the moment, but here comes Norris again then. Around the outside there, and it seemed like he had even more speed that time round as he got back around us. Haven't struggled too much with track limits so far this season. I mean, Bahrain, we barely did any laps, but Australia, we had no real issues. But I think, yeah, just how different the car feels around this circuit tonight is really, really affecting us. And I've just got to keep it clean and tidy to the end. I don't think we're going to get the gap over Norris.
That brings you up a place.
So we've just got to make sure. I mean, we've got a fairly big gap now over Verstappen, don't we? So I've just got to make sure that we beat him. Oh, there you go again. 3 laps remaining now. We've been trying to recharge the pack as best as we can. I mean, I'm hoping for a miracle. I'm hoping either Norris makes a mistake or his tyres hit the cliff. Something, anything. But at the moment, that McLaren just seems to be so composed. As Verstappen now 10 seconds behind. It's a good job Norris and I have had each other to battle today, otherwise it would have been a very, very easy race victory for one of us. So I'm going to try and squeeze him back down at turn 1 once again. Let's try and compromise his line as best as we can, drain the more battery off the exit of the corner. I do feel if we got the gap up over a second, he wouldn't be able to close it back in again. But getting it up over the second mark is the tough bit. There you go. If by magic, suddenly now, Lando Norris, he's made a little bit of an error, and we've got a 1.3 second lead. Surely we can't actually build this up by the end of the afternoon. I've got to be really, really careful with battery management, because I want to make sure he doesn't get back in the range. But is Norris now suddenly beginning to struggle late on in the day? I've got no more battery to use out of the final corner. That will allow him to close back in a few more tenths, but if we have been able to build up that 1 second zone, surely it's going to be easier to get the other 2. butterfly effect can be a crazy, crazy thing in Formula 1. And just think, had that incident where we had that moment on lap 1 gone a bit more badly for us, we would have never been in the fight for the victory today. But we have got to try and find one more second against Lando Norris here. I'm desperately trying to keep the car between the white lines. Tyres are fading, grip is fading, but the gap is going up. 2 seconds now with one more lap to go. And maybe Norris has struggled just as much in that Santander McLaren. He was just able to hide it for a little bit longer there. As you can see, even at the final corner now, he's barely gaining anything back on us. One more lap to go of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and we just need to try and manage the battery. We need to manage the car, everything like that. I cannot stress to you just how slippery it feels like as we try and get the power down out of the first couple of corners. We are taking everything that these Continental tyres have got left in them to keep building up the gap, and you can see now it's up to 2.5 seconds. Norris is really, really beginning to struggle towards the end of this race, and we saw it in the first stint as well, how the Santander McLaren just began to fade right towards the end of the stint. I took the gamble to go the one extra lap to make sure that the second set didn't feel as bad towards the end of the race. And it might be about to be a gamble that is going to pay off for us. 2.9 seconds now over Lando Norris here. He just has not got anything. As for the first time tonight, the gap over 3. Surely now, we've just got to try and manage everything towards the end of the race there. Use the ERS efficiently and effectively. And as long as we don't mess up the final corner, surely now we're going to make it a third winner from the opening 3 Grand Prix. Norris stole it from us right at the end out in Australia. It was Isaac Hadjar that won for Red Bull in round 2. Through the final corner though, Apex GP are going to be on the top step for Formula 1 podium as long as I can get the power down out of the final turn. Surely Lando has got nothing left. It should be P1.
Absolutely awesome. Just amazing, mate. Well done.
The checkered flag flies, and Sonny Hayes today can say, I'm a winner.
They had to be decisive with their overtaking today as they worked their way through the field. And those kind of race victories are so enjoyable because it's not just like winning from the front. They really had to work for it today.
What a day it's been for Formula 1, and what a day it's been for these 3 drivers. Time for the podium celebrations. Time for our drivers to celebrate.
Well, there we are. By just 0.4 of a second, it is victory here in Saudi Arabia. Lando Norris, he'll be a little bit gutted because he was really our only rival all day long. Max Verstappen in P3, a good return to form for him, but clearly still Monster Mercedes struggling for out-and-out pace there. Charles Leclerc just ahead of Colapinto. Hadjar 2-stop strategy was not the way to go for him, down in P6, just ahead of Sainz, Pierce, Gasly and Alexander Albon, rounding out your top 10. And although the VWs seem to be good on a Saturday, both Bottas and Bortoleto really struggling come the end of Sunday afternoon. Charles Leclerc, his teammate, the only driver not to get to the checkered flag, Andrea Kimi Antonelli there, obviously the second Ferrari mechanical failure of the year. What does that do to our World Championship, though? Well, it means Hadjar now has just a 5-point buffer over both myself and Lando Norris. So this is definitely going to be an interesting championship fight. Verstappen, the consistent Dutchman there, up in P4 now, ahead of Franco Colapinto and Charles Leclerc, with Joshua Pierce inside your top 10, ahead of Antonelli and Pierre Gasly there. So yeah, Gasly, to his credit, picking up Repsol Williams, some all-important points early on this year. Constructors-wise, Nismo now at 11 points clear of Santander McLaren. Apex GP, a big haul today, brings us ahead of Ferrari and Mercedes AMG T-Mobile as well there. VW still tied with Repsol Williams. Genesis, Magma and Rocket Rodin tied on a point apiece. And still just Monster Ford Andretti and Chip Ganassi yet to score a point. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns, I believe, for the Monaco Grand Prix. Back to round 4 of our F1 Fantasy 25 career mode. Yes, we return this weekend to the jewel in the Formula 1 crown, the one they all want to win. We are back, of course, out on the French Riviera at the Monaco Grand Prix. Of course, so much history around this venue. Almost 100 years now we have been racing around these Monaco streets. And it's one that I have had a lot of fun with inside F1 25. Anybody that has kept up with the Matt212 gameplay driver career mode will know that I like to host what I call the Monaco Super Prix. We start from the back of the field, we do a slightly shorter race, and the goal is to try and go from last to P1. So 27 laps ahead of us today. Of course, with the 2 Apex GP cars on the grid, we should be lining up in 22nd spot. George Russell decided he would take some grid penalties though, so we will actually be lining up P21. But as always, the mod looks so cool with all of the custom sponsors and everything like that. But let's take a look then. Of course, qualifying normally so important here in Monte Carlo, and it is Isaac Hadjar and his Red Bull Nismo team that took a dominant pole position yesterday by over half a second. Charles Leclerc, you can never count him out though from his home Grand Prix, and Ferrari are the strongest they have looked all season long so far, with the Monegasque man joining him on the front row. So a Frenchman on a Monegasque on the front row. Valtteri Bottas there just ahead of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Gabriel Bortoleto, meaning both VWs have qualified inside your top 5, just ahead of both Santander McLarens, with Colapinto, Pierce and Paul Aaron all inside your top 10. Disappointing yesterday for Max Verstappen, who will line up alongside Esteban Ocon on row 6, with Pierre Gasly and Richard Verschoor just behind them. Hulkenberg, a decent effort in his Andretti, ahead of Yuki Tsunoda and Oscar Piastri. Alex Albon serving some grid penalties as well. He will line up all the way down in P18, just ahead of Oliver Behrman and Pepe Marti, with myself, Sonny Hayes and George Russell on the back row of the grid. A lot can happen, changeable conditions on the way today as well. Let's head down trackside, ready for the Monaco Grand Prix. Well, here we are then down on the grid. Like I said in the intro, the Monaco Super Prix. And well, it could be about to become a very interesting Monaco Super Prix because there is the threat of rain rolling into the circuit towards the end of the afternoon. My goal, therefore, is pretty simple. Start on the hards, take them as far as we can, and I assume that even if the rain does arrive, you've still got to effectively pit twice. So we then try and move over to inters and then maybe do something funky with it towards the end of the afternoon. 27 laps ahead of us, though, in this slightly shorter event here today, and from the back of the field, we've got a lot of cars to try and navigate as well. Ready, though, on the grid, waiting on the 5 red lights. And the Monaco Super Prix is go then. What can Sonny Hayes do from the back of the field? That is the all-important question. Well, this afternoon, as down in towards turn 1, then nice and tidy. We've got George Russell in that Genesis Magma car on my outside, but luckily we'll get the drive up the hill and immediately find our way around Pepe Marti there. Not quite brave enough to have a look for a move on Ollie Behrman up towards the top of the circuit. And now, obviously, normally inside this game, the AI are pretty bad here at Monaco. I've got no idea how they're going to be with this mod, though, so it does really affect the way the car handles around this circuit, as, of course, it's lap 1. We're going to get the Monaco roadblock as Piastri and Ollie Behrman there still wheel to wheel just in front of me and making a lot of contact in the process, practically crawling our way down the hill. And is Piastri going to be able to try and get this one to work? Whoa, all the way around the outside there. Behrman almost puts himself on the inside wall. And we will try and follow Piastri then to get around the outside. Look at the drive, though, down through the tunnel there as we go to the outside of Oscar Piastri. And there we go. We're up another couple of spaces then. So up to P18 on this opening lap. 3 cars have been navigated so far. But yeah, like I mentioned before, of course, the handling tweaks mean that the front end is a lot more responsive with this mod, but the rear end is definitely a lot more slidey, and around a track like Monaco, that can work really well for you, or really, really badly there. It's just skimming the Armco down at La Rascasse then, so we might have just damaged one of the kind of little streaks on the front wing. But that is not too much cause for concern early on in the day. We've just got to settle down, get into a rhythm here. Joshua Pierce, another brilliant qualifying effort by him, as this Apex GP car really has made some good steps forward so far this season. And luckily as well, of course, our main championship rival, Lando Norris, down the order at the end of qualifying. Isaac Hadjar, though, pole position by over half a second. And immediately, even in the race, he looks to be pulling away from Charles Leclerc on the mini-map. Well, Alex Albon then really has not kicked on very well in that, well, T-Mobile AMG Mercedes early on this season. As, I mean, you just see there, the AI still struggle quite a bit down through the final couple of corners. 1:15.8. I don't know how much time we lost to Hadjar that time round through the circuit. But yeah, we definitely, you know, you've got to think about the long game here. You've got to think about what's going to happen with the strategy as well. Obviously, I need to do a weather update and actually find out what's going on with the rain.
And that's 26 laps of fuel remaining.
That's not what I need. I know how much fuel I've got. Weather report.
We think we might see some rain. ETA about 15 minutes. Dry's definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
All the way around the outside of Alex Albon down through the hairpin there. So there you go, able to make another spot up. But yeah, clearly we will see some rain towards the end of the afternoon. So making the strategy call at the right time will be absolutely pivotal. I don't know how we've got so much drive down through the tunnel. But the Repsol Williams there of Yuki Tsunoda, he will now be in my mirrors.
Brilliant, nice move, keep going.
Horns blaring down in the harbour, but yeah, I don't know how. It really does seem like out of the tunnel we are able to get really great traction on everybody else around us at the moment. It's to the inside then of Nico Hulkenberg this time round. The Monster Andretti car there will get jumped as well.
Expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
So I definitely don't want to pit before the rain arrives. I think that's going to be a really bad call, but I'm pretty certain you do still have to pit twice here. But I've just got no idea kind of whether the AI are going to follow that rule or not. One of the other big reasons why I wanted to start at the back of the pack here at Monaco is, yes, one, the AI terrible around this circuit inside this game. But number two was actually, it's quite nice to take a look at some of the other liveries inside this mod. I wasn't expecting us to be as competitive right up at the very front in these first few races, so a few of the best liveries I don't think we've really taken much of a look at so far. As I mean, that Repsol Williams that Pierre Gasly is in a little bit up the road looks absolutely stunning in my mind. Richard Verschoor as well. Oh, just ahead of us. Can we have a look around the outside? Yes, we can once again. And another place gained. But it will be intriguing to see whether the AI have to pit before the rain arrives as well there. Because, I mean, I guess you don't really lose out much. Unless it got so wet that we were going to have to see a switch to full wets later on in the afternoon. You could effectively pit onto another set of dries and have some good pace. Or obviously do a double intermediate stint later on in the afternoon. I think this is kind of what F1 were hoping for when they implemented the two-stop strategy here in Monte Carlo. Obviously, really made no difference normally, but yeah, with changeable conditions, I could really spice the afternoon up. Next up then is the Genesis Magma of Esteban Ocon. Of course, his teammate actually started plumb last in this race, so we've only had to try and, well, hopefully we're going to find our way around 20 cars in this Grand Prix. There is Ocon. Just tried to hang alongside me out of turn one, but realised, yeah, it wasn't going to be a fight worth battling at the moment. You've got to pick and choose your battles here in Monte Carlo. Obviously, we're trying to carve our way up through the order, but I think most of the AI are just kind of worried on where they're going to be when the rain hits. Paul Aaron, oh, I mean, look at that. Again, I know this is normally where the AI suck around here, but yeah, practically having to dive to the inside of him there to make sure that we didn't go into the back of him, and, well, now we are just outside of the top 10 as Max Verstappen, really strong effort last weekend in a Mercedes that is still struggling this year. Just tucked up behind Franco Colapinto in that Nismo Red Bull. At the front though, yeah, it's the other Nismo Red Bull of Isaac Hadjar that just seems to be keeping Charles Leclerc at arm's length. Definitely the best Ferrari have looked this year. Well, I guess because we didn't qualify yesterday, Joshua Pearce now is 2 for 2. Well, in qualifying sessions so far this year is already starting to see a little bit of, you know, lack of grip on that rear end. It is so fun to push early on, but does not last forever there as well. What is Verstappen doing? Why has he just got no drive off of the corner? I don't know if the AI struggle a bit more with kind of the mod as well, but they seem to be really lacking the ability to get the power down there. As I mean, we're practically pushing him down through the tunnel. To the inside we will go. As there you go, complete another move then and into the points in this Grand Prix. But yeah, I don't know why the AI just got such bad drive. Maybe it's kind of, like I said, the lack of traction on the rear end. Obviously, the AI inside this game do have traction control, but of course they won't try to lean on it too much. There you go, Verstappen. Verstappen into the pit lane then. So is Isaac Hadjar, and I believe Charles Leclerc then. So we are going to come out ahead of the Frenchman in this Grand Prix, and well, I'm sure we're going to see other drivers into the pit lane fairly soon. Like I said, my plan though is just wait until the wet period is all. We've got yellows. Someone seems to have gone. They've gone for a bit of a spin there. I'm sure I've got a replay up on your screen. So Colapinto as well. Everybody's sliding around at this stage of the afternoon. So are we going to see a yellow or maybe even a red flag here? No, looks like that car has been able to carry on going in the end. But yeah, a little bit of a disaster further up the order. As, oh, come on, let's see if we can try and get a run on Colapinto. Let's see if I can put a car between myself and Isaac Hadjar. Oh, we'll have to have a look to the inside. Sorry, the outside even there as the Argentinian tries to defend. But doesn't defend well enough there. I think he might have put himself in the inside wall ever so slightly. Nope, he's still got a whole front wing. Oh, so the team still don't believe that rain is showing up soon enough then, as Bottas in his VW was leading the Grand Prix. But get a screenshot of this then. Apex GP 1 and 2 here in Monte Carlo. Isaac Hadjar still trying to chase us down, but yeah, now I'm getting a little bit concerned that that rain might not arrive by the end of the race. And then this strategy maybe has really thrown us under the bus. Obviously, Isaac could become our first repeat winner of the year. 3 different winners from the opening 3 Grand Prix. That, of course, happened IRL in 2025, and we ended up having a pretty good season in the end because of it, didn't we? As Joshua Pearce, though, again, I thought I saw him missing a little bit of front wing there, but I think he's okay. Seems to have enough fight through the corners, but hopefully we're going to get a bit of multi-21 there. As to the inside, Sonny Hayes will go, and from the back of the field, helped, of course, by pit stops. But we are now leading the Monaco Grand Prix. Oh, Joshua Pearce immediately into the pit lane then, so our teammate doesn't fancy staying on those tyres any longer. I mean, again, it's what you'd expect at Monaco, isn't it? Next to no tyre wear around this circuit. But yeah, now we've got a bit of a chance to stretch our legs. We've got clear air up at the front of the venue. But when will the rain arrive? Will it arrive? That is still the all-important question. Well, there you go. That is not something we see all too often inside this game. No, I'm not talking about us leading our teammate. Isaac Hadjar, I tell you what, on his fresh tyres there is really, really pushing us along at the moment. So, obviously, we should be able to keep him at an arm's length. I mean, the AI struggles so much to try and get a run around these Monte Carlo streets, but Hadjar is hassling us, and he knows my game plan. So his goal will be to stick as close as he can, and he knows we will have to make an extra stop.
It looks like rain is inbound and we're expecting it in around 5 minutes. 5 minutes until the rain. Dries definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
There you go. Listening and looking at the skies above. Team still adamant the rain is going to be about 5 minutes away. Or as we slap the inside wall through Upper Mirabeau. But yeah, Isaac Hadjar, though, still pushing us along. In fact, we're actually losing quite a bit of ground to pretty much every car I can see on our relative at the moment. Santander McLaren still running in P6 and P7, but Valtteri Bottas and VW, both of their cars looking absolutely rapid this weekend. When will we see the AI pit for a second time? If they pit again before the rain arrives, then they're really in trouble, because that'll mean, yeah, that they're obviously going to then have to pit again during the wet period. So it's such a horrible, horrible thing to kind of try and work out. But I guess it kind of adds a bit of intrigue still here to Monaco. I always try and do the Super Prix, otherwise I take pole and just dominate. So that's kind of like my Monaco format now inside F125. But I mean, look at that. It is so overcast. on the run back in towards turn 1. But I've also got no idea how the Continental tyres will fare when it starts spitting. The only wet racing we've done so far this year was qualifying in Australia. Oh, there you go. There you go. As soon as we pop out of the tunnel, the rain has now begun here in Monte Carlo. How bad will it get?
The forecast suggests this rain's going to keep getting stronger for at least the next 15 minutes.
There you go. 15 minutes will basically take us to the checkered flag. So now we have got to work in perfect kind of sync with the team to make sure we dive in and move over to that set of intermediates at exactly the right moment. Otherwise, we could still be under or overcut from Isaac Hadjar. Charles Leclerc still waiting in the wings as well. He's having a very, very good home race in a Ferrari car. But like I said, this has probably been the best that Ferrari has looked all year so far. But, oh, come on, just keep it planted, keep it balanced. It can be so, so easy just to break traction. Oh, and find yourself in a wall, as that's exactly what I'm talking about. Dancing it around the Monaco streets like those old turbo cars that Senna used to drive. Oh, there you go, Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar into the pit lane then. So is he going to intermediates? No, he's not. I thought he was diving into the pits then. He just seems to be really struggling as this rain starts to get a little bit heavier there, as just sliding around, trying to keep it away from the barriers, trying to keep the front wing intact at the moment. Would be absolutely critical, of course. Hadjar knows he's just got to pit to inters and go to the end. I've got to then try and make another pit stop, so I'm kind of targeting Bottas and Antonelli here. I definitely still think a podium is on, but you never know. You know, we could end up with a red flag. Anything could happen towards the end of this race. You've just got to be there at the end. I mean, look at that. Suddenly now, Hadjar, I don't know if he's hit the wall, but he is really dropping away now. The gap up to 4 seconds, so are the AI just beginning to struggle a whole lot more as well? They're all struggling, as Bottas now really beginning to have to park the bus as well from those guys behind. But yeah, I wonder if they just cannot adapt to these conditions at the moment with this handling mod inside this series. Oh, come on, we are beginning to struggle more and more with it as well. I think I want to pit maybe the end of this lap. How much Bottas is struggling at the moment. I think this is going to serve as a great opportunity to dive into the pit lane, bolt on a set of inters. There you go, perfect. So of course we're going to gain even more time because of this, because the AI, they're going to be really, really struggling as they limp back round to the pit lane. But from our first set of hard compound tyres, we are finally going to make our first pit stop in this Grand Prix. Hadjar, 8 seconds behind by the time he makes it into the pit lane here, so we are really coming alive at the moment. Oh, of course.
Seems to have been a bit of a problem removing the left front wheel. We need to try and put that behind us though and finish the race strong.
Is that the 3rd time in 4 Grand Prix we've had a slow stop? I think it must be.
Let's get some heat into those tyres.
So there you go, everybody else then moving over onto the intermediates. But what do? Do I pit again immediately? And obviously know that we've done our 2 pit stops for the Grand Prix? Or do I try and wait as long as possible before I dive in again? I think we're better off waiting at the moment. Sort of Sainz there, trying to brave it out 1 extra lap, so he might hold up more of the AI at this stage of the race. So yeah, I think we've probably got to dive in the end of lap 25 and just hope that we've got as big a gap over as many cars as we can. Well, no surprises then, Carlos Sainz immediately peels into the pit lane. That has not been a successful venture for him, trying to go that 1 lap extra. But it has worked out really nicely for me. It's meant Leclerc now 18 seconds behind.
Keep taking care of them.
So there you go. Team still just trying to keep me updated on the tyre. But yeah, we will pit then at the end of lap 25. We took 2 seconds out of Hadjar on that last lap. This race is not over. We're going to have to try and dive in 1 lap early. We are closing in on Pepe Marti at a rapid rate of knots, and I just do not want to lose any time behind him when I don't really have to in this Grand Prix, drifting the car around through the final couple of corners. But into the pit lane we will go then. Make sure I scrub off the speed, make sure the intermediates are going back on the wagon once again. But will Isaac Hadjar, there he is, you can see him making his way down through the swimming pool chicane. Will he reclaim the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix, or will we just about have enough at the front of the order? Team this time around gives a much clean and tidier stop, but Hadjar is making his way up towards the start-finish line, so we'll try and take off the limiter. There goes Isaac in that Red Bull Nismo, and unfortunately for us, we are not quite there by the time we get back through turn 1. So with 3 laps to go now of the Monaco Grand Prix, for the second time in the last 2 weeks, if you guys have been keeping up with the driver career mode, we were battling with Max Verstappen in his Red Bull towards the end of the race. Can we do the impossible again? Hopefully, we won't have a red flag this time. Firing up the new cold tyres can be so difficult on the outlap, especially when you're doing the dirty air. One wrong move, one lock-up, one snag of the brake. And of course here, the stakes are higher than anywhere else in all of Formula 1. You are gambling it. It is a dice roll. Every time you try and make your way into a corner, every time you try and close up a bit of extra speed on the car in front. Isaac Hadjar wants to become the first driver, I believe, from France in 30 years to win the Monaco Grand Prix. Obviously, if you guys remember that insane race by Olivier Panis, in which he came from 14th to 1st, hasn't been that difficult for Isaac. Obviously, starting from the pole, and between us, I think us two have led pretty much every lap here. Joshua Pierce got one lead as well, nicely thrown in the mix. But yeah, are we going to be able to find a way around Hadjar? Of course, you forget how much you lose in the dirty air, how much more difficult it is to try and stay close to the AI in these tricky conditions there. As down the hill we will go. Oh, nice and easy, nice and easy. Whoa, big moment. Whoa, lucky they were able to hang on to that one as the back end there almost completely stepped out. And that is the problem when you get on the slightly damper line. There is just zero grip at all. Well, I really tried to get the car slowed down through the chicane. I don't want to risk getting a warning and a penalty towards the end of this race. As always, running strict track limits inside this series. But you can see the car shaking around like a pendulum as we try to get towards the last lap of the Monaco Grand Prix. We won't have to deal with any lap traffic or anything like that at the moment. But could we still see an AI roadblock towards the end of this race? One more lap to go. Red Bull Nissan Nismo leading the way still, with Isaac Hadjar here, of course, making that move to Red Bull for 2026. Really excited to see how he's going to get on there. But your top two, we have each won Grand Prix so far this year. We are each going to make huge gains on Lando Norris in the World Championship. But who will it be that comes out on top today? We've just got to keep the car planted, stay as close to Hadjar's rear end as we possibly can through this, well, I was going to say tight technical sector 1, but this whole circuit is tight and technical, isn't it? Weaving this way and that as we try and make our way through the hairpin. I feel like I'm doing my best Nigel Mansell impression at the moment as we try to find a way around the Frenchman here. Is Isaac Hadjar going to become a new king of Monaco? Are we going to be able to try and find anything against him? As Isaac again, will defend the inside line there, but then cover us off in towards the hairpin. Not quite able to make anything happen there this time round. As the horns blasting, we get a huge run down in towards the back there. Try to stay alongside him. Not quite able to make it happen there though, as I could not risk picking up damage or spinning off his side pod. In towards the final couple of corners of the Monaco Grand Prix. Will there be any opportunity down in towards the Rascas? There is. Hadjar has to give me the room, cannot risk a crash. Backs out of it, and with a huge celebratory drift through the final corner, we will claim it. That is the Monaco Grand Prix.
The checkered flag flies, and Sonny Hayes today can say, I'm a winner.
And that's 2 wins in a row now. It's the start of potentially something special, but they can't get ahead of themselves just yet. It's a long way to go.
It's what they've all been racing towards, waiting for them. High above the pit lane is our podium. And for the lucky 3, it's time to stand on it.
Well, there we are then, from 21st on the grid. P1 come the checkered flag here in Monte Carlo by just quarter of a second. Isaac Hadjar, he will be gutted not to claim the victory, but back-to-back wins for us. Things are looking pretty good so far this campaign. Charles Leclerc in third there ahead of Valtteri Bottas, narrowly missing out on VW's first ever Formula 1 podium. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, a brilliant drive to fifth, ahead of both of those Santander McLaren cars. Norris, first real race weekend, he struggled, obviously. Bahrain, there was some extraneous circumstances. Bortoletto and Max Verstappen with Franco Colapinto running out your top 10, and, well, a bit of a shame there. Joshua Pierce really did struggle towards the end of the afternoon. Unfortunately, not able to pick up a point today. Ollie Behrman, one lap down, come the checkered flag. Pepe Marti, the last of your runners on the lead lap. But what does that do to our World Championship? It means now we have a 2-point lead over Hadjar at the top of the table. Consistency really has been the Frenchman's game so far. Lando Norris, though, still in P3 ahead of Leclerc and Verstappen. So 5 drivers from 5 different teams inside your top 5 still. Colapinto ahead of Sainz, Pierce and Valtteri Bottas now up inside your top 10 with some huge points this weekend. Ahead now of Bortoletto, Gasly with Albon, Paul Aaron, George Russell all with a point on the board. Constructors-wise, you can see Nismo Red Bull now 11 points clear of Apex GP. Santander McLaren down to third ahead of Ferrari and Mercedes as well. Still just Chip Ganassi and Monster Ford Andretti that are yet to score a point. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns, I believe, ready for the Canadian Grand Prix. Hello everyone, and welcome back to round 5 of our Formula Fantasy F1 25 career mode. Yes, we return this weekend to the Formula 1 Avis Austrian Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Monte Carlo, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. It's safe to say the first 4 rounds of this campaign have been very exciting. Returning though to the Red Bull Ring this weekend, it's looking rather soggy around the circuit. Of course, we've seen a little bit of rain in previous races, but this is going to be our first major test of the wet weather kind of capabilities of the Continental tyres inside this mod. Of course, as always, there will be a link to it down in the description below if you want to take out the mod for yourself, give it a spin. It is really good fun. So far, the opening 4 Grand Prix have seen a lot of drama and a lot of intrigue, and this weekend I'm sure will be more of the same around the 10 corners here that make up the Red Bull Ring. One of the most picturesque circuits in Formula 1, but we're not worried about pretty pictures this afternoon. We're worried about trying to bag the full 25 points. Yesterday though, qualifying was a dry affair, so let's take a look at our grid rundown. Once again, it was Lando Norris that would find himself on pole position, but Charles Leclerc and Ferrari do seem to have taken a step forward as the Monegasque man will join him on the front row. Row 2 then would consist of, I believe, Isaac Hadjar and Andrea Kimi Antonelli. So again, Ferrari looking very racy here, and how will their pace fare in the wet conditions? We line up 5th, just ahead of Max Verstappen. As you can see then, Alex Albon in that second Mercedes T-Mobile car inside your top 10, just ahead of Gasly, Bottas and Paul Aaron for Rocket Road in there. Gabriel Bortoletto would line up 11th ahead of the second of the Repsol Williams. Joshua Pierce in 13th ahead of Oscar Piastri in what I believe is Andretti's best result so far this qualifying. Oliver Behrman ahead of Carlos Sainz with a grid penalty. Nico Hülkenberg ahead of Franco Colapinto, so 1 McLaren and 1 Nismo Red Bull, each with grid pens. Esteban Ocon, Richard Verschoor just ahead of Pepe Marti, and George Russell making a mistake in his Magma Genesis car. There we go then, we're ready for race day. Let's head down to the track. Well, here we are then, back for round 5 of the season here at the Austrian Grand Prix, and a rather soggy looking Austrian Grand Prix as we get ready to kick things off. Last time it rained in this series though, back in Monte Carlo, things went pretty well for us. Of course, yeah, if you missed out on that video, go back, check it out. Looks like though, we're basically going to get the opposite of last weekend's weather. It's meant to be raining throughout most of the race, but is meant to dry up right towards the afternoon. So how things will fare, that is anybody's guess. A 2-point lead over Isaac Hadjar in the World Championship. Let's see if we can try and extend that here today. Ready on the grid then, waiting on those 5 red lights. And the Austrian Grand Prix is go, go, go there. Lando Norris trying to cover off Charles Leclerc immediately on the run in towards turn 1. As I try to have a look around the outside of Andrea Kimi Antonelli there. Let's look at that. Hajar immediately in that Nismo Red Bull. We'll try and get around the outside at the Red Bull ring. Both Ferraris going wheel to wheel then as we make our way up the hill. But sadly, yeah, we don't quite have the legs against Antonelli there as Hajar having to defend once again from Leclerc. Norris now trying to leap into an early lead in this Grand Prix. As that time around then will get the better of Antonelli up in the traction zone there. Traction will be absolutely critical today. I sacrificed our qualifying pace a little bit in the hopes that we would be a bit better come Grand Prix Sunday. I'm hoping Joshua Pierce did the same as well because his qualifying effort was pretty poor, to be honest, as Leclerc again trying to have a look around the outside of Hajar and makes that move happen. But yeah, a lot of battles going on then on lap 1. Ferrari seem to be getting involved in all of them. But this has worked out beautifully for Lando Norris, who has already got a healthy buffer up at the top of the front there. As you can see, Hajar again trying to have a look for a move on Charles Leclerc down in towards the final couple of corners. Side by side they go. Don't often see the AI go wheel to wheel down through here, but Leclerc there maybe getting a little bit caught out there. I think he had a bit of a moment off the exit, could not get the power down. We almost were able to get the run, but again, just don't quite have the speed by the time we get back in towards turn 1. Normally, of course, the start of the Austrian Grand Prix is chaos. All those DRS zones, I mean that everybody kind of trips over each other quite aggressively early on in the race, but yeah, without DRS here, it is going to mean things are hopefully a little bit calmer. Not that that's the impression I'm getting from the opening lap or so there, as once again we'll jump a Ferrari up at turn 3. Let's get a weather
Light rain will
update.
stay with us for at least 20 minutes, maybe more. Light rain is here to stay. Inters seem to be the fastest tyre for now.
Well, there you go then. So yeah, light rain is meant to be here for the foreseeable. How bad is tyre wear going to be? I think we'll probably have to make a stop at, about halfway. Well, your top 3 in the World Championship then, already now pulling away at quite a rapid rate of knots over everybody else. I think Ferrari, good car in qualifying yesterday, but now the rain has started to fall. Really do seem to be struggling there. Leclerc and Antonelli dropping down the order, but also giving us a huge amount of breathing room up at the front, as now Hajar has been unleashed. He is very, very quick. I'm trying to hang on to his coattails, but I think he's probably going to drag us back towards Lando Norris here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Trying to get a little bit of a run then on Isaac Hajar. Wasn't expecting to be able to do anything there, but we'll try and have a look around the outside. Hajar desperate to cover us off. Misses the apex as we make our way down through turn 4. Can we now have a look to the inside? Ready for turn 5 there. Make sure we don't run too wide. There's Hajar and I almost meeting in the middle, but that was a move that I wasn't expecting to make then. And up into P2 of the Grand Prix we go. I was actually about to talk about the tyre wear here. 19% after 6 laps. The tyres aren't feeling too bad here, and it does seem like we're able to manage them pretty well. If we knew the rain was going to stop by sort of lap 25, we could afford to try and stay out here and obviously then immediately jump over to the dries. But we've kind of got to start planning for that now, thinking about the tyre wear very, very early on in the race. And who knows when the rain's going to stop. I don't think we can get another update.
Inters look like the best tyre for now.
Okay, so clearly the team is starting to study it a bit more there, as Hajar clearly didn't like being overtaken last lap. We will try and run deep up at the top of the hill, get the switch back on him there, and well, these Continental tyres are so rear limited that you've really got to focus on getting a straight line exit.
Okay, you're doing well out there. Keep it up. We're looking at about 10 more minutes of rain. 10 minutes.
Well, there we go then. I was just about to mention that Mark really wasn't giving me much feedback at all as to when this rain was meant to end, but now we've got a better idea. Now we know just how much further we need to take these tyres, and it probably will be to about half distance in this Grand Prix. Of course, we don't know how quick the Austrian circuit will dry up as well, but clearly the rain is getting less and less as we're getting quicker and quicker around the lap. Hajar is kind of sticking with me, but not able to apply too much pressure. Norris just seems dead set on keeping everybody at an arm's length. But can we try and push on, get a bit closer to him? That way we can obviously put a bit more pressure on him when the pit stop cycle happens, as immediately both of us setting new fastest laps.
Check your MFD for details.
What on earth is Mark on about?
Teammate by 16.
Why do I care what I'm beating Joshua by at the moment? Give me the strap, man. 16 they want us to pit. But they're also saying to pit onto another set of inters.
10 minutes left of this rain, then we think it's going to dry up. 10 minutes. We're not certain which is the best tyre right now, dries or inters.
Okay, well, it's still raining then around this circuit, but the team now maybe aren't sure whether dry tyres would work in these conditions. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think it's going to still be a few more laps, and, well, at the very least, I want to see the rain stop before I was to take that gamble, but teams still, yeah, it seems like this rain is kind of still sitting above the circuit right now. It's maybe not dissipating as quickly as the team had hoped for, as early as they'd hoped for, and, well, that's just got me thinking again that we need to look after our tyres just a little bit more here. This is the thing with the kind of wet racing and the changeable conditions racing. Generally, on F125, you don't get as much on-track action, but it can be so tactical that, although it might not look it, these are actually the races I'd probably enjoy the most. It really is a question of when will you pit, when will everybody else pit. It feels like that crossover period is much more difficult to manage inside F125. As Verstappen now, it's taken him 13 laps, but he's finally got the jump on Leclerc and Antonelli. But, I mean, yeah, he's basically out of contention for a podium because, simply put, the top three have been able to scamper away. But as we get closer and closer to half distance then, oh, there you go. This is when the team wanted us to dive into the pit lane originally, but we are not going to be doing that just yet then, as rear tyres now definitely beginning to struggle. And it seems that Isaac Hadjar maybe can't handle the heat that Lando, Norris and I are providing. I mean, Hadjar, to his credit, he has been very consistent this year, but obviously helped by the fact that in the first 4 races, Lando and I both failed to score in Bahrain. And obviously Hadjar has scored in every single race so far. But as we will then try to have a look around the outside of Lando Norris as we plunge down the hill. Very careful not to lock the front brakes up. Just see there though, oh, how easy it is just to unsettle the rear tyres and get a bit of a moment on corner exit as well. You get the car kind of off of the racing line and there is very little grip. The sun is starting to poke through some of the clouds though. And the team is still adamant that the dry tyres could be viable at the moment. I don't really want to take that gamble at this stage. The last thing I want to do is get shuffled down the order. Let's not forget as well, there you go, first warning of the day. Let's not forget as well, Austria is a brutal one-stop in dry conditions. So,
really dry enough yet to start thinking about slicks. Let's hold on to the inters for a little while longer.
3 laps ago, you were telling me to consider slicks, Mark, so I'm happy I didn't listen to you then. But really, yeah, for us at the moment, as long as the rain stays out till about lap 20, it should mean we can then pit immediately over to dries and get to the end. Otherwise, yeah, it might be a horrible 2-stop strategy today. Oh, again, you just tucked up in the dirty air. It is so difficult to avoid getting wheel spin. But here we go again to the outside of Lando Norris. Can we try and pull along the outside of that Santander McLaren car this time? I mean, just those fronts have got very little grip. Here we go again. Lando Norris has no drive. Up at the top of the circuit there is all I thought. I fancied a look to the inside that time round. But Norris will try and cover that one off a little bit earlier on the brakes. Try to keep the car closer to that dry line, but you just cannot make anything happen around the outside of the AI up through the top of the circuit. These tyres, though, are really getting burnt out now, and this is the problem at the moment. Where the track is still a bit greasy, you're wheel spinning, you're lighting up the rears everywhere, but it's just not dry enough to warrant a switch over to that dry compounded tyre. Now the AI are able to manage it pretty well. I would assume everybody is basically going to be going until that dry compound, but it might mean we have to take a gamble a little bit early.
Quite soon. Be careful you don't burn out your tyres.
There you go. So Mark there trying to warn me of something I'm already well aware of. But yeah, might mean that we have to try and pit like a lap or 2 early, take a bit of pain, and then hope we've got pace in the dry. Some AI now starting to dive in. I think that is the Monster Ford Andretti at the rear of the field that has peeled through the pit lane.
Dangerously high levels of wear now. Please look after them or consider boxing for a fresh set.
Well, there you go. Mark may be warning me of that just a little bit too late. There is a huge snap of oversteer through the final corner. I thought for a brief second we might have got a puncture, but trying to push on, trying to apply pressure to Lando Norris. We are definitely going to have to dive into the pit lane at the end of this lap. We've taken these intermediates as far as we possibly can. Let's select... Oh, see, the team is still saying inters. But yeah, let's set up a set of hard tyres to take us to the checkered flag. So we've got yellows out. Who is that potentially retiring from the Grand Prix? I believe that's one of the Chip Ganassi cars pulling over to the wayside. That is Pepe Marti, who's our first rider there. And a VSC. Oh, could it be worth going for a cheap pit stop for the others? Let's wait and find out. Well, there you go. VSC already coming to an end then, so we're not even going to get a chance to try and see if we can cheese this a little bit.
We're going green. Maintain positive delta until the green flags.
But more and more cars then peeling into the pit lane. The problem is, I don't know whether they're on dries or intermediates, but we have no choice. We have burnt up this set of the intermediate tyre. Make sure I get the car slowed down into the pit lane. Don't do what I did in the driver career mode a few days ago, but this is a huge, huge gamble for us at this stage of the race. I think we are going to be the first driver out on dry compound tyres, so we knew at Monaco it was the right time. It's another slow stop.
Removing the left front wheel. I know it's not ideal, mate, but let's try and put it behind us and get back into this race.
That is 4 times now in the opening 5 Grand Prix that we've had that, as there is no temperature in these tyres. Oh, as we almost slide into the pit lane wall on the exit there. We'll come out just behind Carlos Sainz and Alexander Albon, as Joshua Pierce now getting a jump on me as well as we make our way up towards the top of the circuit. Oh, there is no grip. There is no stopping powers. I'm just going to go straight on. I'm so sorry, Pierce, as he's trying to turn us. And Joshua Pierce there, clearly not happy. Oh, I've got to get on with it. I've got to get off the line. Try and get out of the way of Colapinto as well. But this race has absolutely come undone for us. Now it's a question of what can we get, rather than how many points can we get. Can we get any points in this race there? I mean, you just look at that. Sometimes the car bites, but get it off the dry line, there is no grip at all. But it actually looks like the pace is fairly good for the most part when we get the car placed in all of the right places. But yeah, it's just turn 4 and 5 where we seem to be really, really struggling. Apart from that, the rest of the track seems to be okay at the moment, so really just trying to keep the car on the island, avoid moments like that from happening too many times there. And well, I mean, with how big a gap the top 3 had, maybe a podium is still doable this afternoon. That'll be quite the miracle with 2 spins in about the space of 3 laps. So that is, again, another reminder, it is not fully dry. There you go, there you go. AI now coming through the pit lane. In fact, Lando Norris already out of the pit lane alongside Isaac Hagel. So this is going to be a moment of truth time for us then. Will we still be in P3 by the time everybody has made the call? Say, Max Verstappen there, he'll want to do well. This has always been a good track for him back in his Red Bull days, but new fastest lap then. And well, with 12 laps to go then of this race, we are back up to 3rd spot. We are going to be on slightly older tyres than everybody else right the way to the end, but as long as we can manage them, we might be in for a rather lonely end to the afternoon. 10 laps to go then. We are still setting fastest laps of the Grand Prix and still building up more of a buffer ahead of Verstappen behind. But more interestingly than that, Valtteri Bottas is still out here on intermediates and going quicker than the Mercedes T-Mobile car behind me. So yeah, look at that. Bortoletto, sorry, has moved up now back into P4 of this Grand Prix. There's not a chance he goes to the end, is there, surely? And even if he can, surely it's not worth it. Look at that, further behind, Paul Aaron now. Up to P5 then, in his Rodin car. So, clearly, if you'd stayed on the intermediate, you'd still have an advantage at the moment. I mean, they're going about as quickly as we are. That's just a new fastest lap of the day. But Paul Aaron there might be about to go even quicker. So, I think because of the Continental tyres in this mod, it really confuses the AI. They are really, really struggling. I mean, we took another 2 seconds out of Hajar on that last lap. There's not a chance we surely catch back up to the front, is there? Oh, there you go. DRS now enabled.
DRS is now online.
7 laps to go, and finally the FIA believe that the track is dry enough now. So will that trigger Bortoletto and Paul Aaron to dive into the pit lane? Honestly, at this stage of the race, if I were either of them, I'd just stay out here. Everybody else seems to be struggling. You've got a huge opportunity for a massive payday. I mean, VW did very well last weekend as well. But for Rodin, both their cars currently up inside your top 10. Just stay out to the end, surely. I tell you what then, 4 laps to go. This race is not over just yet. We are still pushing along, chasing PBs and fastest laps each and every time around this circuit. 13.1 that time round. The intermediates still seem to be better than basically all of our dry runners here. So I think the AI just cannot figure out the conditions at this stage of the race. What I know is we are going over a second a lap faster than Hadjar and Norris in front. So 4 laps, 4 seconds. Surely that dictates we're going to get to Hadjar by the end. As I mean, look at that. When he makes a bit of a mistake up at the top of the circuit, that's almost a second gained in 1 corner. This is 110 AI, let's not forget. But with this mod, their pace does seem to vary a whole lot more. 1 more lap to go then here from the Red Bull Ring, and I tell you what, our pace has been so good in the second half of this race. I would love to try and get back past Hadjar on this final lap. You never know how critical 3 more F1 World Championship points could be come the end of the season there, as we take a lot of curb through turn 1. That might compromise our exit just a little bit. Lando Norris has basically led the entirety of this Grand Prix, but never by more than about 3 seconds here. Both Hadjar and I have had a little bit more pace than the Santander McLaren car towards the end of the afternoon, but will it be enough? As to the outside of Isaac Hadjar we will go down the hill. This has never been where we've been strong all afternoon. Hadjar though brakes far too early, we brake far too late though, and that pretty much means we meet in the middle on the exit of the corner there, still side by side with the Red Bull Nismo car there is on the wet stuff. Hadjar, I mean look at that, clean around the outside. For a man that has had very little confidence later on in the afternoon, that is an audacious move to try and hang on to the position. We surely won't be able to find anything down in towards the final couple of corners, but Lando Norris makes his way through. Victory number 2 for the McLaren car today. Can we try and get a run on Hadjar on the run back towards the line? Not quite enough.
Yes, and that's a podium. Excellent drive. The whole team have worked especially hard this weekend, and that, my friend, is a fantastic reward. Well done.
Here's the checkered flag. The fans rise to their feet. It's Lando Norris for victory.
I know every race has equal importance in terms of points, but when you get to this part in the championship, it's clearly on your mind as you're looking to see how far up the order you can finish. And races like this certainly help that.
Well, it's been a long wait for many of our drivers, but the wait is always worth it. Bring them out to the awaiting crowd. It's time for our podium celebrations. He holds the trophy aloft, and why shouldn't he? A richly deserved win today for Lando Norris.
Well, there we are then. Lando Norris, pole position. Didn't quite get fastest lap, but race victory for him and the all-important 25 points come the checkered flag. He will hang on ahead of Isaac Hadjar, who picks up yet another podium for Red Bull Nismo. We will come through for third, just ahead of Gabriel Bortoletto, Paul Aaron and Ollie Behrman there. A brilliant day out in their Rodin cars. Piastri and Hulkenberg as well getting points. So a huge day for a lot of teams that maybe we thought were set to struggle throughout the course of the campaign. Antonelli, they're down in P8 ahead of Verstappen. Where did Leclerc finish? Charles Leclerc all the way down in 15th. That's just how bad the Ferrari was throughout a lot of the afternoon. But it was just Pepe Marti who failed to see the checkered flag. What does that do to our World Championship? Well, it means now we are 1 point back behind Isaac Hadjar. Lando Norris now only 8 points away as well. So it is all looking very, very close up at the top of the table. Charles Leclerc there still in P4 ahead of Verstappen and Franco Colapinto. But yes, we cross half distance. It's very clear to see that myself, Hadjar and Norris have got a big, big margin over the rest of the field. Pierce, of course, still in P10. And obviously with all of those drivers able to pick up points today, it now just means Ocon, both Chip Ganassis and Yuki Tsunoda yet to score so far this season. Constructors-wise, Nismo Red Bull now 9 points ahead of Santander McLaren. Whoever wins this Constructors, it is going to be down to the second driver starting to pull their weight there as Apex GP. We are in P3, still ahead of Ferrari. Mercedes ahead of VW in the Battle of the Germans. Rodin Rocket there up to P7, with Repsol Williams now 1 point ahead of Monster Ford Andretti, who get the jump on Genesis Magma. And yeah, just Chip Ganassi yet to score a point. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the British Grand Prix. Hello everyone and welcome back to round 6 of our F125 Formula Fantasy Career Mode. This weekend we return to the Formula 1 MasterCard British Grand Prix, of course, the home of British motorsport, the birthplace of Formula 1. And it's looking very, very British here. Incredibly wet conditions as we return to the Silverstone circuit. In fact, monsoonal conditions around the venue in something that we really haven't seen much of so far this campaign. Of course, if you missed out on the last video that went live from Austria, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Of course, it was another pretty crazy race. All the races so far this season have been very, very interesting and fascinating in their own way. And obviously returning to a track like Silverstone that so often promotes great motorsport battles as well. I am really, really looking forward to this weekend. Taking a quick look then at our grid rundown before, of course, we head into the race today. Yesterday was just as soggy on track as today is looking at the moment. Lando Norris, a dominant pole lap, 6/10 clear of Isaac Hadjar, who will join him on the front row. So yeah, a brilliant effort once again by the Santander Santander McLaren man there. P3 will be Andrea Kimi Antonelli, just ahead of Max Verstappen, with Carlos Sainz and myself lining up on row 3. Bit disappointed to be 1.3 seconds off the pace. Bortoletto ahead of Alex Albon on row 4, with Russell a brilliant effort to go P9 ahead of Valtteri Bottas there in his Genesis Magma. Charles Leclerc will be disappointed down in P11 alongside Paul Aron. Franco Colapinto and Richard Verschoor will make up row 7. Esteban Ocon just ahead of our teammate Joshua Pierce down in P16, with both of the Monster Ford Andrettis on the 9th row of the grid. P19 goes to Pierre Gasly just ahead of Oliver Behrman, and then at the back of the field, Pepe Marti just ahead of Yuki Tsunoda as well. But yeah, with these kind of conditions, you know, with changeable conditions as well, it's looking like we could be in for a very, very interesting race. Let's head down to the track. Well, here we are then, and for the second weekend in a row, we have got a wet to dry race. I don't get how we're getting so many kind of crazy weather races at the moment inside this series, but 26 laps around Silverstone is always quite a high intensity event, and normally when this place delivers changeable weather, it is an absolute banger. So I'm sure that is going to be the case here today as well. We're going to start on the full wets. We're going to take them as far as we can, or obviously when the intermediate becomes the viable tyre. But when the rain does stop, it is meant to dry out very, very quickly. So we'll wait and see as to how things pan out a little bit later on in the afternoon. Lando Norris, though, a dominant pole lap yesterday. He will look to try and control things here at home. 5 red lights are on. And it's lights out, and away we go then for the British Grand Prix. Immediately trying to get a better start than Carlos Sainz alongside us as we make our way in towards turn 1. And there you go, 5 cars from 5 different teams now immediately in your top 5. You actually get a warning for a collision there with Carlos. Felt that was kind of, you know, turn 1 racing antics. Everybody there trying to find their own space and rhythm around the circuit. It's Hadjar immediately just trying to stay in hot pursuit of his championship rival as well. Of course, Isaac Hadjar still leading the World Championship by just 1 point heading into this weekend, but him, Lando and myself covered by just 8 at the top of the table, so a lot could change come the end of this weekend there, as Antonelli immediately looks to struggle a little bit in that Ferrari. We saw that last weekend out in Spielberg. The Ferraris had absolutely no race pace, and obviously the top three were able to get away from them, and they were then never a threat again later on in the afternoon. Bortoletto, a decent start after, well, VW, they do seem to have come alive ever since the Monaco Grand Prix. They seem to have kind of found their feet in Formula 1. Could well end up being a threat to Mercedes AMG T-Mobile over the course of this season, as well, everybody just trying to find where the grip is on this opening lap. How much do you attack? Obviously, with this mod, it does mean that the handling in the wet is a lot less forgiving. One wrong move, and you can go pirouetting around, as we found out twice during the Austrian Grand Prix. Here we go, Verstappen then, immediately as we come towards the end of lap 2. Try and have a look for a run on Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Can't quite get around him. Yes, he can, as they're still going wheel to wheel down in towards the final couple of corners. And, well, Ferraris versus Verstappen at Silverstone has often delivered some brilliant racing and a lot of drama to go with it. We just don't quite seem to have the pace here today. I know, obviously, normally the AI very powerful here at Silverstone anyway, but early on in these heavy, wet conditions, we are really struggling for speed. Of course, we did see out at Austria last weekend as the track began to dry up. Our pace was absolutely OP towards the end of the afternoon. So I've kind of got to hope that that's going to be the same here, because Lando Norris is absolutely bolted very early on. Let's get a weather update.
Suggests the rain's going to be lightening up over the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. We should start finding more grip as we clear the standing water. Inters and wets will probably have very similar pace at the moment.
Here we go then. So team believe the intermediate could be the way to go fairly soon. But often has been the case this season, you actually want to switch over later onto a drier tyre.
The weather's turning. We think it's time to box now.
Ooh, okay, there you go. Right at the end of lap 4, team believe it is time to pit. I am not going to listen though. Like I said, I think it's worth trying to take these full wet tyres a little bit longer in this Grand Prix, as it looks like most cars behind me all opting to peel in. Valtteri Bottas staying out there as we've got yellows out. VSC, oh, as long as it's not a full safety car. There seems to have been an incident a bit further back. Not too sure what's going on there. Sometimes the AI get a bit confused when they try and overlap each other into the pit lane. No. Oh, come on, Mark. Let's not worry about that. Is the engine going to blow up for the second time this season? We had a mechanical failure back in Bahrain. If we get a second one in the opening 6 GP, I'm going to be devastated. Every single race this season so far, we've either had a mechanical failure or the team have struggled to put a tyre on the wagon. I was hoping at some point we won't have either of those. It's gone. Engine's gone. MG UK has exploded, and, well, our home Grand Prix.
As soon as possible. We can't risk you carrying on with this race, I'm afraid. Again, find somewhere safe to stop. We need you to retire.
I get zero luck on this game. I thought for the first couple of months I was absolutely fine, but now I seem to be cursed on F125, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until we get the green flags. VSC ending. Wait for the greens.
Franco Colapinto takes the checkered flag and wins.
To do it as a team on home soil, that really means something special. And you can see how much it means to them, the drivers involved as well. Great job by them today, of course, as always. But for the fans watching on too, a great display of teamwork here today.
Once again, it's podium time, and once again, it's a clear win for Alpine. The team have seen their fair share of success in Formula 1, and today is proof that they've still got what it takes to thrill us all. Congratulations to everyone at Alpine.
Well, I want to have a know what on earth happened in the rest of that Grand Prix. Yuki Tsunoda takes victory, 8 seconds clear of Ollie Behrman, but they both put 2 laps on every single other car in this race. Tsunoda did a one-stop strategy. I genuinely need to see if I can work out what happened here. So he went on the intermediates. So he must have started on the intermediate. Behrman obviously pit as well, but everybody was on the inters later on in the Grand Prix, but no idea how that happened. It must have been something to do with their crash that we saw just before the engine went pop. Valtteri Bottas came through for 3rd, so that is Repsol Williams, of course, home Grand Prix for them. Rocket Rodin on the podium, and VW as well there. Franco Colapinto, a huge result for him down at Nismo Red Bull, beats out Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Lando Norris, who had dominated that race early on, comes through for P6 ahead of Isaac Hadjar. Albon in 8th ahead of Leclerc and Max Verstappen, rounding out your top 10, but 3 laps off the winner. F125 can honestly be such a broken game when it feels like it there. Only myself and Paul Aaron failed to see the checkered flag. So what does that do to our championship standings? Well, I think that's going to mean, yes, Hadjar even, 6 points still clear of Lando Norris. 1 point now in it between Lando and I, as we are now 7 back off the championship lead. So whichever out of us 3 wins next weekend is going to be leading the Drivers' World Championship. Charles Leclerc now 1 point ahead of Colapinto. Antonelli now ahead of Verstappen into P6 there, with Carlos Sainz a little bit further back ahead of Bottas. And yeah, look at that, Behrman leapfrogs his way up into 10th overall. Tsunoda, his first points of the year. He was last heading into this weekend in the championship standings, but has now got 25 to his name, ahead of Bortoletto and Joshua Pierce. That now means that the rear of the field is just Ocon, and still, despite the weird weather, despite everything that goes on, Chip Ganassi just cannot seem to score a point inside this game. Nismo Red Bull now 19 clear of Santander McLaren at the top of the Constructors. Apex GP, I believe this is the first race all season that we had failed to score a point there, so that means we've just got a 17-point buffer ahead of Ferrari. Like I did, though, back in Bahrain, I'll make sure I put a picture of the thumbnail up to kind of avoid spoilers for anybody that obviously is going to click on this video. Thank you all so much for watching nonetheless, and hopefully I will see you back then out of the Belgian Grand Prix, our one and only sprint weekend of the season. We need to come back and win. Hello everyone and welcome back to round 7 of our F125 Formula Fantasy Career Mode. Yes, we return this weekend to the Formula 1 Avis Belgian Grand Prix, of course our only sprint weekend of this series. Yes, of course I've tried to head to some iconic tracks on the F1 calendar. Sadly, Belgium, you can't mod out the sprint race or anything like that, but it does give us a bit of a different format this weekend, and hopefully something interesting to talk about. Of course, Spa, my favourite track on the Formula 1 calendar, 7 kilometres of pure Grand Prix goodness, and it's normally a track that we're very, very strong on the F125 game. With this mod though, this venue is a lot more competitive for the AI, doing some practice runs, things like that. The AI look to be very, very quick this weekend, and with the championship still so close between myself, Lando Norris and Isaac Hadjar, anything can happen as we head into this weekend as well, especially with those extra 8 points available. Taking a quick look then at our grid ready for the Saturday sprint race. First of all then, it was changeable conditions on Friday afternoon. Isaac Hadjar though will claim pole position ahead of Lando Norris, so a good drive by the Red Bull Nismo driver there to get himself up, get the lap hooked up around this venue as well. Lining up then just behind them on the second row is Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Ferrari look to have taken a step forward this weekend. I always seem to qualify 5th. I don't know how I keep managing that ahead of Verstappen, Colapinto and Alexander Albon. George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli lining up just inside your top 10. Richard Verschoor there ahead of our teammate Joshua Pierce, once again starting down in P12. Bortoletto in that VW ahead of the second Genesis Magma. Oliver Behrman and Nico Hulkenberg will make up row 8 ahead of Pierre Gasly and Paul Aaron there in that second Rodin car. Valtteri Bottas there down in P19 ahead of last weekend's winner Yuki Tsunoda. Pepe Marti and Oscar Piastri will round out the grid. Really looking forward to this one though. Of course, as always, timestamps linked down in the description below. A massive thank you to all of their support. But yeah, let's head down to the track. Well, slippery conditions then in yesterday's qualifying. I don't know how many wet qualifyings I've had recently inside this series, but I don't seem to get much luck with them. I do seem to find myself starting P5 though, pretty much every single race so far this season, but 8 laps then to make up our one and only sprint race of the campaign. Let's see how we get on then, ready off the start. We need a good lap 1, we need to be in the fight right at the very front there as the 5 red lights are on. Nice lights out, and away we go then. A little bit of a wheel spinny getaway. We were just trying to hug the inside line on the run in towards turn 1. Then try not to go too hot as all. Wasn't sure there whether Leclerc was going to try and turn in or whether I was going to get a bit of breathing room, as there seems to have been a lot of Constantine running up a bit further back. Down the hill we go though, in towards Eau Rouge for the first time as Lando, Norris and Carlos Sainz there. Wheel to wheel they go, and looks like Sainz has made the move happen as Charles Leclerc, obviously former teammate of Carlos Sainz, will make it 3 wide as we make our way up the back straight. Here comes Leclerc to the inside in that Ferrari. Will he be able to make it happen though? No, he will not. They're still 3 wide through the exit of the corner there as Leclerc just gets met with the gravel trap on the exit. Hadjar has gone already as Sainz now trying to give back the position to Lando Norris. Clearly, McLaren obviously, need to focus on their number 1 driver at this stage of the campaign there. As to the inside. Whoa, Sainz will try and go as well. A little bit of a snap oversteer on the exit, but we are still going to be side by side as we make our way down in towards P1, and Sainz has almost gone clean around us. Luckily, able to hang on there, and we're getting the power down on the exit of the corner, but a very, very dramatic lap 1 then so far. But now, of course, you're top 3 in the World Championship. You're top 3 in this sprint race there, as, yeah, Hadjar, like I said, he's already 3.5 seconds up the road. See, looking pretty good. It's always been a pretty good Red Bull track, hasn't it, here in the Ardennes. But we've got to try and make sure that I keep up with Lando Norris and try and pull away there, as Leclerc does look very feisty as well. You always expect those Ferraris to be pretty good around some of these more low downforce circuits, but I mean, there is a huge train of cars behind us, as this place has definitely seen some of the biggest tweaks and changes to the AI inside this game as well. We will try and give Sainz there a little bit of a squeeze out through the final corner. Verstappen now has found a way around Charles Leclerc as well, but normally, of course, you come to Spa and expect to dominate. That doesn't happen with this mod. The AI are much, much more competitive. But it does seem like Lando Norris and I then have a little bit more speed over Isaac Hadjar early on in the day. I'm just happy, though, that I've been able to get back in the range of that Santander McLaren car. As up through a Rouge Rally on we go. No matter how much better the AI are, we are still able to carry the speed up through there. Is Orlando! Big swing towards the inside there after I've already committed to the move. And at over 210 miles an hour, we had to have reactions like a cat to make sure that we didn't just run through the back of him. But now less than 2 seconds away from Hadjar. This is the only sprint race of the season, like I mentioned, so I would quite like to win it. But as we cross over half distance then, we are starting to reel in Isaac Hadjar here, starting now to believe that a sprint race victory might still be on, as Lando Norris staying in our range as well. A little bit further back, dump some battery as we make our way up through the incline there and closing in now on Isaac Hadjar. Is this going to be a move for the lead? Yes, it will. And nothing that the Red Bull Nismo driver can do there, as Sainz a little bit further back will get back ahead of Lando Norris as well. So it's just how sketchy the back end feels on low downforce around here. That's why the AI are a lot more competitive. They've still got their rear stability. We don't. You're really having to kind of balance the car around. It feels like a dance between track limits there. As I mean, look at that immediately. Hadjar trying to go back to the inside line as we make our way down through P1. We'll try and cut underneath him. I think he's got so much more confidence through there. We'll try and get a run. Down the hill. It's to the outside we'll go. In towards Fanyas there. Are we going to be able to go the long way around? We'll have the inside line for the second part. Hadjar, so much grip. And how did I not go into the side of him or the back of him there? We must have been inches away from losing the wing. But clearly, Hadjar does not want to give this race up. Well, let's try that again then on Isaac Hadjar. And hopefully this time round we might seal the deal as well. Let's try to dance the car between track limits. Hadjar! What is that? he was trying to defend the inside line, and then suddenly he swung to the outside there. And again, on the track edge, you have got so little grip. You know, as you would expect to find at IRL, it is not where you want to be in a Formula 1 car. And, well, Hadjar clearly trying to play some tricks to make sure he hangs on to this. He knows he's on the back foot, but it is still so difficult to find a way around him. I mean, it's so difficult to put the power down through those final couple of corners, and obviously down in turn 1 as well. You are really wrestling through the more downforce orientated sections of this lap. But I tell you what, I still haven't seen the F1 movie. I don't know why, I just never got round to it. So if it's anywhere near as good as this series has been so far, I'm in for a treat when I do finally get around to watching it there. It's to the outside of Isaac Hadjar that time around. We pick up a warning for track limits, but Norris closing in, top 3 in the World Championship, all battling it out for the lead. We will run late into the corner there, trying to give Lando Norris a bit of a squeeze on the exit. And finally, up to P1, maybe for good now, as we just got a little bit caught out on the curb once again. Norris will try and have a look around the outside there, as Hadjar now, again, trying to go to the inside line. Who will come out? These two in P2. Norris will do it for now, and I've got to run away. One more lap to go then, and we are still really feeling the pressure. Lando Norris now getting himself involved in this battle. Charles Leclerc a little bit further back as well. We haven't seen Ferrari really have an out-and-out pace to win a race so far. Look at that, Norris! I have never been outbroken like that down at the bus stop here at Spa. That is ridiculous. Norris just got it slowed down, clean around the outside there. But that hopefully is not going to be the end of the world for us, because it should mean we get the DRS again up in towards turn 4. It's just trying to get the power down off the exit of turn 1 there. I mean, Norris is absolutely gone, hasn't he? Maybe Santander McLaren just biding their time in this race. Waited, obviously, for myself and Hadjar to have our battle a little bit further back. Activate the DRS, though. 220 miles an hour as we make our way up the Kemmel Straight. Will we get to the outside of Norris? Yes, we will. Try and get it slowed down there. We'll run deep through the first curve. We keep it planted through the second. A bit of a drift on the exit once again. But, I mean, look at this. It is just a train of cars up at the front of the order. But Apex GP back to P1. Come on. Just keep it planted through these final few corners. You have to run super low aero here, but boy, oh boy, it does feel sketchy. I think Monza next time out as well is going to be a very scary ordeal. As look at this, Norris now trying to get a bit of a look to the outside of us there. He won't get anything on the run up the hill. Leclerc, though, weaving this way and that at the back of this train. I mean, 4 of us could be covered by a blanket at the moment, as we will have to go defensive in towards the bus stop. Norris again, confident on the brakes. Can we go the long way around on the run to the line? We get the power down. That is P1.
Yes, and that's a podium. Excellent drive. The whole team have worked especially hard this weekend, and that, my friend, is a fantastic reward. Well done.
Well, there you go then. 4 cars covered by just 0.8 of a second come the checkered flag. But we will claim victory in the one and only sprint race of the season. Lando Norris, Isaac Hadjar in P2 and P3, ahead of Leclerc, Sainz, Antonelli, Verstappen and George Russell. What does that do to our championship then? A quick look at the picture. Isaac Hadjar 5 points now ahead of Lando Norris and myself. So any of us 3 win the race this weekend, we will be back up into the lead of the World Championship. Constructors-wise as well, Nismo Red Bull still 14 clear of Santander McLaren, as we are now 17 ahead of Ferrari. 16 behind McLaren, 17 ahead of Ferrari. Could we still try and go for a bit of a run in the Constructors' Championship? I normally wouldn't showcase it, but I'm going to take you for a lap here around the Ardennes, just because I love Spa so much. Let's head into real qualifying.
High-speed straights, heady elevation changes and dramatic corners. What is there not to love about today? It's qualifying day here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Well, I'm running a bit more aero then, ready for real qualifying here, just because the car did feel so sketchy in that sprint race. But we've got to try and get a lap hooked up. Second gear as we make our way down through La Source. So yeah, Ferrari once again look very good through this first sector as well. Obviously, we try and find a fair bit of time up through Eau Rouge and Radillon. But the other big thing here as well, of course, is A, keep it inside track limits. Now, like every other series I do on the channel, we do run strict track limits. And B, make sure I save the ERS as well. right towards the end of the lap there, as up to the end of the Kemmel Straight. Really got to try and get the car planted over those curbs there. And I know we're on a set of soft compound tyre, but just a bit more wing really does help you get the nose tipped into the corners. Hug those apexes a little bit better, although still not perfect, as we plunge down the hill. Oh, so close to running the car outside of track limits there, but in towards Pouon we will go. Oh, there you go, down one gear there, not quite fully flat, but not a million miles away either, as so far at the moment then, we are on for P1. That was the other reason why I thought I'd bring you guys for a lap around this circuit. Oh, lucky not to get done for track limits there, but the game clearly felt I lost enough time that we didn't gain an advantage, and the same through there as well. Throwing away the advantage, though, to Charles Leclerc in the process. So again, still through some of that more downforce-orientated sections, struggling to try and keep the car balanced exactly where I need it. Leclerc, though, this has been a dominant lap so far by the Monegasque man, as we are going to run out of battery up in towards the final couple of corners. Big send on the way in, though, on the brakes. Is that going to be enough to try and snooker away pole position from Leclerc? No, it's not. There we go then. I believe that's the second time this season we've lined up on the front row of the grid. Obviously, I believe we did it back out in Jeddah at the start of the year as well. Charles Leclerc, though, will claim pole position. Ferrari, I believe, they're first of the year. Lando Norris will line up third, but a tough qualifying session for Isaac Hadjar all the way down in P10. Let's not forget, still leading that championship at the moment. So he has got a big opportunity here as well. Carlos Sainz there from Santander McLaren all the way down in P14. So, I mean, with Joshua Pearce up inside the top 10, there is a huge opportunity for us to gain some big points today. Well, here we are then, down on the grid, ready for the Belgian Grand Prix. A very, very good sprint race yesterday. Fingers crossed we can have some similar success here on Grand Prix Sunday. Yeah, we have led the championship before, haven't we, inside this series, but very, very rarely have Hadjar, Lando Norris and I have been more than about 10 points away from each other. It has been a nip and tuck battle throughout the campaign so far, but as we get towards the end of the European leg, as we prepare ourselves for flyaway, our final couple of races, anything can happen here. Norris opting for the hard tyre at the start. It is 5 red lights. Oh, and it is lights out, and away we go. Onto a fairly wheel-spinny getaway, but we should be able to cover off Norris in towards turn 1. So he just tries to have a look down the inside there, but look at that, Franco Colapinto trying to go around the outside. Looks like Antonelli in that second Ferrari car as well, trying to make some moves. But of course, yeah, these guys aren't our battle at the moment. There is wheel to wheel we go with the Nismo Red Bull, and Colapinto can't handle the heat down through Rouge and Rally on that time round. I'm not lifting. I wonder what he was going to do. I guess we found out this time, as Antonelli now trying to move up into P3 as well. So very, very good start by the second Ferrari, and maybe his goal is just try and act as a bit of a rear gunner for Charles Leclerc if he can move his way up into second spot. Joshua Pearce, though, and Bottas up to P4 and P5, but there is already a 2-second gap back to all of those guys as well. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Well, that's not how things pan out there. It's just trying to make sure that I keep the car planted again. Like I said, especially with both of our championship rivals now apparently down the order a bit. We have just got to play this first stint quite smart. If we can win today, like I said, we will take the lead of the championship. But that is massively helped by the fact that none of us scored at Silverstone. So we start lap 2 then. Let's see if we can test the waters a little bit with Charles Leclerc. We are quite a long way back, but we know Antonelli's tyres will fall off a cliff pretty quickly in this race as well. So drain a little bit of battery there. It's heavy fuel. Really difficult to actually keep the car between the white lines. But here we go then. Trying to get a run on Leclerc. 220 miles an hour. You cannot compete with that. Without the assistance of DRS, around the outside we will go. I said we need to play it safe, but it's easier to play it safe when you're at the front of the field in control. Again, it does just appear that Ferrari are the ones with the advantage at the moment, as we are just constantly getting mugged off around the outside down at that hairpin. I gained a load of time on Leclerc yesterday in qualifying through there, but in races, the AI are absolutely mental. So yeah, Leclerc then back up into P1 once more. Colapinto seems to be dropping back towards Valtteri Bottas's clutches very, very early on in the race. But yeah, I mean, so many big names way down the order. Ferrari do have a real opportunity to snooker a victory if I just decide it's better to play it safe later on.
Radar suggests some weather's going to hit in around 5 minutes' time, so stay on your toes.
Well, maybe that's why Antonelli then opted to stay on the soft compound tyre for the start. There was no rain predicted for this Grand Prix. I think the highest it went up to was about a 34% chance, so clearly that rain they do think now is going to hit the circuit. Because, I mean, this is Spa, isn't it? Always the home of crazy weather patterns. So we've got to keep an eye on the sky. Right, well, let's try this again then on Charles Leclerc. A little bit further back on the way through means it's much, much easier to carry the momentum off the corner. And there we go. Back into P1 once again. As it looks like, yeah, Antonelli's struggling now to keep up with the top two. But, I mean, the problem is as well, of course, if it only sprinkles with rain, it could be worth staying on dries, losing a bit of time. But obviously, if the circuit then dries back up again, you'll effectively have done 2 pit stops less here. We really are going to have to try and play it kind of moment by moment. But, yeah, I just... why have we had so many changeable conditions races so far this season? And especially with this mod, it does make them a lot less predictable.
Watch the conditions. We think there's rain coming pretty soon. Be careful. Dries definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
Well, there you go then. Rain is apparently imminent here as we start lap 6 of this race. I've started to build up a bit of a gap, though, over Leclerc, so I just think Ferrari haven't quite got the out-and-out pace, you know, of your Nismo Red Bulls, of your Santander McLarens, or your Apex GPs at this stage of the day. But, yeah, Joshua Pierce there, still, I mean, he was up in the points earlier on. How was he now down to, like, P11 here? What's going on with our teammate? He's useless. Oh, there you go. There you go. The rain just starts beginning to fall as we make our way up through Eau Rouge and Radion. That's a pretty scary place that I think is going to get scarier and scarier over those next few laps. Not quite sure when we'll reach the crossover point. Generally, the dry tyres are pretty good in this mod. The Continentals work well, but with a 2-second buffer over Leclerc, we have not got much room to breathe. One driver that has really not worked out for is Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Just pit off his soft compound tyres now. No idea, I would assume he's on like a set of mediums or something, but yeah, just as the rain begins to fall, that is a proper Ferrari strategy, isn't it? But yeah, track's starting to feel a little bit more slippy in certain spots, but at the moment we are just trying to manage it, seeing if we can eke out a bit more of a gap over Leclerc. I mean, yeah, if it doesn't rain that heavily, we could still opt to move over to hard tyres for the next stint. But I have got intermediates ready to go, just in case. What? All I can do is make noises when things like that happen. The commentary goes out the window, but when you get those little slides and somehow are able to catch them, especially, like I said, with this mod, that's not easy.
ETA on this rain clearing up is about 10 minutes, so just keep your concentration out there. You're doing well. Dries definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
So now the team is saying that the rain's meant to stop again in about 10 minutes. The problem is, I don't know how much heavier it's going to get before it stops. We might genuinely now be in a position where I've just got to stay out on these mediums for as long as I can. Of course, it then means if the rain does, you know, kind of go away, we'll be able to move over to hards to the end. If not, it still means obviously we can pit for intermediates.
These conditions are tough, but bear with it. I don't think the track's ready for intermediates yet.
Mark's still adamant it's not ready for inters, but we can't be a million miles off. I mean, we are going probably now, what, near enough 10 seconds a lap slower?
10 minutes left of this rain, then we think it's going to dry up. 10 minutes.
See, the team are still adamant it's going to dry, but I still think we're going to need a set of intermediates. You have to be on the right tyre at the right time in Formula 1. As Bottas dives it in, sadly, not going to get to see what tyre he's gone on to. Norris 16 seconds back. This could work out really nicely for him if he's able to stretch that set of hards all the way back to the dry period.
It's not a perfect situation, but I don't think we've got cause to move on to a different tyre yet.
That's normally a pretty good sign that it is in fact time to switch over to the intermediate. When Mark says that, he's usually wrong on this game. So
weather's changing now. We're going to have to change strategy, so it's time to box.
You could not write that. You could not write that. There you go. Team finally now suggesting the intermediate is the way to go. And as soon as I slag Mark off, I am proven correct there. So, who was that? Bottas that dived it in last lap. If he's gone to intermediates, he might be on for an absolute blinder. Oh, no. No. Oh. Another big moment there, as that was definitely overzealous. Oh, I had the overtake on. Why did I activate that through there? Luckily able to hang on to it, and we've only lost a couple of seconds to Leclerc a bit further behind. May as well drain it now. I'll try and make back up some of that time. Even then, still Blanchimont is easy, flat out with these ground effect cars. But a huge lock-up down in towards the bus stop chicane. Another huge slide as we get up over those curbs. And like I've said before, wet weather driving is so much less forgiving with this mod. We limp it back into the pit lane though, and are about to move over to a set of intermediates then as everybody else diving in. Will Lando Norris follow us in, or is he staying out there? Looks like he's opting to stay out, so he wants to brave it on his hard compound tyres. As Leclerc's gone inters, we are going inters as well. A clean stop!
Mate, that's it. Go, go, go. Perfect job on the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go.
That is the first race this season where we haven't had a slow pit stop so far, or a mechanical failure. Bahrain and Britain, we didn't even make it to our pit window. Whoa. Obviously before the engine blew up. But yeah, getting a warning for exceeding track limits there. That's not ideal. But will we have the pace even, over Lando Norris to gain the place? DRS now has been disabled, but definitely that seems a little bit too late to be making that call. I mean, we are going quicker than Norris, but only by, well, we've taken about 2 seconds out of him so far this lap. So if that rain's going to stop soon and you could brave it, it could still be doable for Norris to obviously stay on the dry throughout the entirety of the Grand Prix. But for us at the moment, though, it just is not worth the risk. Oh, there you go. Norris, he can't do anything, especially now DRS has been disabled. He has got to dive into the pit lane, and we will re-inherit the lead then of this race as we cross half distance. Still in control for now, but a safety car, a red flag, everything could change in an instant. Look at that as well. I said about Bottas, if he'd pit over to the intermediates 1 lap early, and he's now up into second spot here. So VW, they could be on for yet another podium this season. Bottas has been a bit of a star. I thought that was I thought that was an engine failure then. Luckily, it's only the DRS has gone offline. With a 15-second lead, hopefully that's not going to be too useful. Okay, lap 15. It's still raining, but DRS has been re-enabled in this race, so not quite sure why the FIA have done that just yet. Clearly, they feel they want to get some racing action going again. But Colapinto and Leclerc now both jump Bottas. So this probably helps Isaac Hadjar find a way around them both as well. But we could end up in a reverse 2008 here, where it's a gamble whether you swap back to dries towards the end or stick to your intermediates. No, it's not ready for dries yet, Mark. You're having a laugh. I will be very interested to see whether the AI dive into the pit lane at the end of this lap, because we aren't going to yet. We obviously saw out at Austria, didn't we, that the intermediates, even on a drying track, was still actually very, very good. So unless the sun really begins to start shining around this track at the moment, I would rather keep the buffer we've got than risk diving into the pit lane a couple of laps too early. I mean, car feels pretty good. Track still feels pretty slippery, though. So, of course, obviously, you know, with an 11-second buffer as well, if the AI pit and then immediately 3 seconds faster than me, we know we can pit 1 lap further on, but I'm just happy to manage things at the moment. A 156.7. Will we see Colapinto and Charles Leclerc into that pit lane? Yes, we will, I believe. Yep, so everybody else is starting to dive in. So let's just manage the gaps. There we go then. Colapinto has come back out ahead of Bottas, so it looks like Leclerc's had a bit of a slow stop. And of course, poor Isaac Hadjar, stuck behind his teammate now, has dropped behind Lando Norris in this race. So Hadjar might be about to go from first down to third in the World Championship then. But 33.1 ahead of Bottas at the moment. He's got Colapinto now. Bottas is flying along yet again. And yeah, I mean, through those first couple of corners, yeah, they're definitely gaining time on us. It is time to pit. Last car then opting to bolt on a set of the dry compound tyres once more, but at the moment with a 30-second lead, we're going to lose a few seconds to the undercut. But nothing kind of too worrying at the moment. Luckily, yeah, we worked hard early on, built up that gap as the track got worse and worse, and have just been able to enjoy that advantage throughout a huge portion of this race. Will we get a decent pit stop, though? Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen, as we will try and slow down on the marks. Will it be a good one? Will it be a bad one?
Okay, go, go, go. Perfect job from you and the crew there, mate. We're delighted with that.
And there we go. 2 clean pit stops in a row. The Apex GP pit crew, they'll be getting a raise after this race. But yeah, Bottas, though, now seems to be on fire for this restart. They have undercut me, like I said, by a good 3-4 seconds. But yeah, Bottas has got a decent buffer over Colapinto. We've got yellows late on in the day. It's one of the Rocket Rodins, I believe. Is that Paul Aaron? Yes, it is. Out of the Grand Prix then, and as well, we are just controlling things up at the front of the order. I was starting to worry that nobody had a mechanical failure so far in this race, because if no one's having one, it normally means this guy gets stuck with one, as I shouldn't drive one-handed. That could have been worse. Well, one more lap to go then here from the Belgian Grand Prix, and I tell you what, I said earlier on in the weekend that we aren't as OP as we normally are here in Belgium with this mod. And, well, if you look at the gap to Bottas, it has not gone up throughout this final stint of the afternoon. Just a little bit of luck with the strategy, a little bit of luck with the changeable conditions, and ultimately this race has ended up being a lot more comfortable for us than it probably ever should have been. And, well, after another DNF last weekend, we have to bounce back with victories. Both times we've had a DNF so far this season. As long as I don't do anything stupid now, we're going to fight back and claim victory in the very next race. It is so important, with just 3 races to go after this one, that you keep bouncing back, you keep fighting, and you keep believing towards the end of the campaign there. Valtteri Bottas, though, is that going to be his 3rd podium of the year? Or at least his 3rd big score, isn't it? Because, yeah, Bottas has just been insane when it comes to kind of mixed up strategies and everything like that there. The VW man always seems to be on the right tyres at the right time, and he can only do that with years of experience behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car. But as we make our way then down through the final few corners here of the Belgian GP, this is going to be the most dominant victory I think we've seen all year long by any driver up and down this grid. We were able to control this one. We took the sprint race victory yesterday. We had a good little battle with Leclerc early on in the GP today. Ferrari, they seem to have had a bit more pace this weekend, but VW out of nowhere are going to help us out as well by denying Norris and Isaac Hadjar big points this weekend. Through the final corner, though, the Belgian Grand Prix, once again, it is going to be ours. Very happy with that.
Absolutely awesome. Just amazing, mate. Well done.
And it's the checkered flag and the win today for Sonny Hayes.
Well, another race victory today. You could clearly see they're driving out there with very little pressure. You know they have the performance. They know they've got the car under them as well. And this has done no harm, of course, for their championship chances.
It's what they've all been racing towards, waiting for them. High above the pit lane is our podium. And for the lucky 3, it's time to stand on it.
Well, there we are then. The end of the Belgian Grand Prix and Apex GP. We will take the full 33 points there. Really happy with how the race went in the end. Bottas will come through for P2 ahead of Charles Leclerc as Lando Norris and Isaac Hadjar 4th and 6th place respectively. A huge boost to our championship hopes. Albon, Russell, Antonelli and Ocon there means both Genesis Magna cars able to score, and, well, Ocon from the back of the field. Fair play to him. What does that do to our World Championship? Well, it means now we've got a 12-point buffer over Hadjar, a 13-point lead over Norris, though, with just 3 races to go of this campaign. I believe we head to Monza, Singapore, and Vegas, if I remember correctly, towards the end of the year. The ever-consistent Charles Leclerc still in 4th, and I mean, look at that, Bottas is up to 6th. just by getting some huge point hauls on rare occasions so far this year. Further down the order, though, massively helped by Silverstone. It means everybody that isn't in a Chip Ganassi has scored a point this year. Constructors-wise, though, we are now just 3 points back behind Santander, McLaren as well. Nismo Red Bull with a 20-point cushion at the top of the table. But yeah, Ferrari and Apex GP, just by pure consistency, might still be able to get into that fight. VW now comfortably ahead of Mercedes AMG T-Mobile as well. So the battle of the Germans is definitely going to come down to the wire towards the end of the season. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns to the Temple of Speed for the Italian GP. Hello everyone and welcome back to round 8 of our F125 Formula Fantasy Career Mode. Yes, this weekend we are back at the Formula 1 Continental Gran Premio d'Italia. Of course, at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Obviously, if you missed out on the last video from Belgium, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Belgium with this mod delivered quite a lot of surprises, and I expect the same to be happening this weekend here at the Italian GP. Of course, the oldest permanent road course here in Europe, 3.6 miles of top speed goodness. And this Apex GP car, I'm hoping, is going to be pretty good with its top speed as well. We currently have a 12-point lead in the Drivers' Championship ahead of Lando Norris and Isaac Hadjar. So yeah, the championship fight with 3 races to go is still looking very tight, but any kind of swing of momentum you can get in your favour will be absolutely pivotal towards the end of the campaign. Taking a look though, yesterday's qualifying session really wasn't the one for Apex GP. Again, I've said it before, the AI have way too much ERS here in qualifying, but it would be Charles Leclerc for Ferrari who would claim the pole ahead of one of my championship rivals, Isaac Hadjar. Let's not forget, Leclerc needs to beat us this weekend if he wants to mathematically stay in the hunt. Andrea Kimi Antonelli would line up 3rd ahead of Alexander Albon. Paul Aaron and Lando Norris would make up row 3, so not in our usual 5th spot. George Russell just ahead of the 2nd Red Bull Nismo of Colapinto in 8th, ahead of Oscar Piastri and our teammate Joshua Pierce rounding out your top 10. Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen both disappointed down in P11 and P12. We find ourselves P13 on the grid, just ahead of Ollie Behrman. Valtteri Bottas and Esteban Ocon make up row 8 ahead of Richard Verschoor and the 2nd VW of Gabriel Bortoleto, with Pierre Gasly and Nico Hulkenberg down in 19th and 20th, and Pepe Marti and Yuki Tsunoda rounding out the grid. This is going to be a really tough event for us. We're going to have to try and throw something different at it as well. But yeah, without further ado, let's head down to the track. Well, here we are then down on the grid, ready for the Italian Grand Prix, and well, yesterday afternoon, just no pace in this Apex GP car. Joshua Pierce able to line up just inside the top 10, but we find ourselves all the way down in P13 with a lot to do. Team don't believe a one-stop strategy is doable this afternoon, but I think we're going to have to try and see if we can make something happen with it. I'm going to start on the hards, I'm going to try and take them as far as I possibly can, and then go to the mediums to the end of the GP there. 27 laps ahead of us. Let's see what we can do today. The championship still is looking incredibly tight. It's 5 red lights. As the lights out, and away we go there. A lot of other cars opting for the hard compound tyre off the start as well, but that's not going to stop Ollie Behrman and Valtteri Bottas immediately trying to have a look past us in towards turn 1. The goal pretty simple. Don't lose the front wing. As Verstappen, Behrman and Bottas there 3 wide through that first corner. Will we see some carbon fibre getting flicked up? No, it looks like everybody seems to have kept it fairly clean and tidy. As Verstappen's going backwards then off the start. All 3 of us able to navigate our way around that T-Mobile Mercedes car as up then in towards the 2nd chicane. Bottas as well gets down the inside of Ollie Behrman as we will just try and cover off the Dutchman through those first couple of corners. But yeah, I mean, this is always a really tough track inside F125, and even more so with this fantasy mod as well there. Hadjar leading the way, of course my closest threat in the World Championship at the moment. But yeah, like I said, if we can get these tyres to about lap 16, that would be absolutely fantastic. Maybe lap 15, we could still opt to try and make the one-stop happen here, but trying to make sure that we keep the car planted, keep it inside track limits as well. DRS battery management, they are critical around this Italian GP there, as it looks like Charles Leclerc still not giving up on his World Championship hopes. Trying to have a look down the inside of Isaac Hadjar down at the final corner. Who will be leading by the end of lap 1? It is going to be Hadjar there, who's just in front of Charles right up at the front of the order. But yeah, with Vasseur and Verstappen, the two Dutchmen going wheel to wheel behind me, I'm just going to try and take a little bit of time to settle in, get into a rhythm here as well. Vasseur try to have a look in that Chip Ganassi car. I mean, if ever there was an opportunity for them to score points, surely this weekend would be that chance there as well. We've got a spinner at the back of the pack. Could that be a yellow flag or even a red flag here early on? It looks like everybody is able to keep going there as we will get around the outside of Ollie Behrman. So yeah, Piastri having a very, very good qualifying session yesterday in that that Cadillac even, I should say. So let's see what we can do.
Battery charge is high. Let's use that overtake button a bit more.
Oh, there you go. Piastri, a sitting duck then by the time we head out onto the back straight there as well. Bottas taking a bit of a swing at him. Not too sure about that one, but yeah, Oscar Piastri, maybe that team offering a really, really low downforce setup, but he has got no confidence on the brakes. But let's see then if we can try and get a run on Bottas then. That VW driver has been a star so far this season, but to the outside we will go 217 miles an hour. There's Joshua Pierce as well, making a little bit of progress early on in this race. Oh, Bottas there, try to have a look back down the inside, but I'm not going to allow that one to happen. As I mean, this is what we need to see. A lot of concertina and up going on from a lot of cars. And I believe that's the other Rocket Road in there, and Paul Aaron to the front of the order. I really don't know how patient we should be early on in this race. There's a new fastest lap then. That is a pretty good sign there. It's 223 miles an hour. I wonder how quick this Apex GP car could be. Oh, Colapinto, I think he just ran into the back of George Russell there down at turn 1. But Ferrari now up to 1 and 2 then in this race. Like I've said, it's often what you see in my team career modes on this game. Ferrari become really good in the second half of the year. Yeah, Leclerc's still 50 points back. Could he bring himself into the World Championship fight? So, someone's lost their wing. I think that might have been Joshua Pierce there, or someone else is blowing up. Who's that? It's Hadjar! Isaac Hadjar! From the most competitive car of your Championship 3 this weekend. He has suffered a mechanical failure early on and drama here at the Temple of Speed. And that means that we should definitely be pulling out some points over him this weekend. Early on then in this race, it's just non-stop action here as Franco Colapinto in that low Nismo Red Bull now. Just about getting around the outside of Joshua Pierce down at the final couple of corners. Our teammate really lacking any kind of straight line speed at the moment. A huge drive off of the turn, as we will try and see how quick can this Apex GP car go inside F125 there. 225, 26, 27, 28 miles an hour. Oh, as we slip to the outside. Oh, drifting through turn 1 there, around the outside of Franco Colapinto we will go. So I reckon this thing will do 229 right at VMAX. Here we go, Joshua Pierce then. I don't think our teammate is hopefully going to be too much of a hassle to get around this time round. As to the outside then, you can see, yeah, I think he's damaged both sides of that wing. No, he's only the left-hand side pod, the left-hand side of the wing there that he's damaged. He's going to, again, try and have a bit of a sniff to the inside down at turn 1, but we often see Monza being a bit of a different track. Different drivers are able to deliver. But yeah, Ferrari have bolted now at the front of the order. Lando Norris, of course, my other big title rival, up in a pretty lonely P3. I'm a little bit gutted, though, for Paul Aaron, who seems to be struggling a little bit. No, it's only Leclerc, that's gone. The other Ferrari's pit. George Russell, then, in that Genesis Magna car through the final corner. Even he seems to be struggling quite a lot with rotation, so yeah, don't know. No, he hasn't got any wing damage, I don't believe. There's another new fastest lap of the day for us, as we will now move up then into 5th spot here. So yeah, Paul Aaron, Alexander Albon battling it out for that final podium place right now. But yeah, at the moment, we're having a pretty good recovery drive so far. Let's not forget, I've got to try and take these tyres another 8 laps here, and the tyre wear is not looking impossible. Well, this should be an even better opportunity then to do a bit of a top speed test out of the final corner. So there you go, Charles Leclerc into the pit lane then from the lead of the GP as another new fastest lap. Come on, show me 229 miles an hour. Nope, we can't quite do it. As Albon there just tries to tuck back into the slipstream of Paul Aaron right in front of us. Won't matter though, round the outside down at turn 1. And look at that, from 13th on the grid, we are up into the podium places. This is where everybody now locked into a little bit of a game of chicken at the moment. How far is everybody planning on taking their hard compound tyres? As hopefully now they're going to make the move happen on Paul Aaron. And again, just huge speed back in towards turn 1. Those Ferraris, though, they're obviously on the 2-stop, but they're trying to go for quite a quick 2-stop here. They are not a million miles away, and they definitely have the most speed of anybody. The Ferrari is the quickest car this weekend. Well, there you go, Norris. Norris, he's decided he's doing the 2-stop strategy today then. So that now means we're going to be clean out in front, with actually a pretty sizable gap over most of our rivals here. Verstappen, next car still out on the circuit. But even he's diving into the pit lane then, so we're going to have a pretty sizable lead. Like I said, I think Ferrari are going to be our biggest threat throughout the rest of this Grand Prix. How far back is... Oh, is Antonelli up in P2 then? So he's 18 seconds away. But these next few laps are pivotal for our Grand Prix, because I've got to stretch this set of hards, deal with the pain now, so hopefully the mediums won't be too bad. Tyre wear warning light has now flashed up, but the gap to Antonelli, it is coming down, but not too massively at this stage of the GP. 15 seconds still, the buffer we've got over him, so we need to be a second a lap faster towards the end of the Grand Prix. I honestly think the big tyre wear factor here is dirty air more than anything else. It can be so difficult to get the power down off of the turns, but yeah, real struggle on Saturday. But the car is coming to its own on Sunday afternoon. Oh, there you go, Antonelli. Antonelli diving back into the pit lane then, so he's making his second stop before I've even made my first in this Grand Prix, so I think he might be in a bit of trouble then towards the end of the afternoon. But honestly, I mean, we were what, about a second off the pace in qualifying? We just could not do anything. The AI gets so much battery to use on their qualifying runs, but seems like they've struggled a lot more today in race trim with some of the handling aspects of this mod as well. I mean, Leclerc, Aaron, Norris and Albon now are all tripping over each other, which works out fantastically for me, but yep, team desperately wanting to try and get us to nurse these tyres back round to the pit lane. Whoa, easy does it, but yeah, 68% on that rear tyre, so we've done pretty well actually hanging on to him. It is only really the rear left here that is a major cause for concern, and that's just because you've got a lot of corners like that where you are putting a lot of pressure on it, trying to get the power down. Into the pit lane we will go, though, at the end of lap 16. We will relinquish the lead that we've held on to for the last few laps, but maybe Leclerc might dive into the pit lane as well here. Like I said, the big one for us is that we don't come out in dirty air. Can the team give me a tidy pit stop? That's the other big question. Yes,
Right,
yes they can.
Come on. Perfect job on the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one.
So there you go, 3 wide for the lead up in front then. Okay. Valtteri Bottas now trying to go for P1. As Antonelli then making his way out the final corner. He is still my biggest threat towards the end of the day. Tyre wear right towards the end will not be easy to manage. Well, Albon and Bottas then battling for the lead of a Grand Prix. That's not something I expected to be saying. Wouldn't it be mad if that ended up being the case next year as well? I would pay good money to see that battle play out as Alex Albon then into the pit lane. As Bottas, yep, controlling Lando Norris then up at the front of the order. But I mean, even again now, Antonelli has come back out into some traffic. So everything is falling into place for us at this stage of the Grand Prix. Like I said, it's just about trying to save these mediums right to the end. Tyre wear will be bad, but it shouldn't be awful. Well, are we going to see Bottas into the pit lane? Yes, we are. Lando Norris as well, following him in. So as we start lap 20 of this Grand Prix, we are back into top spot then. Carlos Sainz there now going to be out in P2, trying to take his hard tyres just one lap further, but we're going to get an idea of how far back Antonelli is. I mean, that Ferrari is still just quicker than us. Anyway here, so we're not home and dry just yet. 11 seconds back to Antonelli. Surely, home Grand Prix, Ferrari's home Grand Prix, if he could win this, that would probably be one of the biggest storylines you will ever see in Formula 1. Well, there you go, on that last lap alone then, Antonelli did take another 1.6 seconds out of us, so, I mean, that Ferrari anyway is probably genuinely over a second a lap faster than this Apex GP car around this venue. We don't have the most competitive package in the world around these kind of low downforce circuits. But Antonelli, he is digging deep. He is not giving in. I am just trying to control things. I'm not too worried about the Ferraris. If they get to me, so be it. I'm just worried about outscoring Lando. Oh, what is that? Why is something just flashed up on the MFD? Is that a gearbox issue? Is that something else? That's always a bit spooky when something like that happens. It seems to be something at the rear of the car. I think it's a diffuser still that was already a bit damaged. We surely can't get a third mechanical failure of the year. Well, I was thinking about the hypotheticals for Charles Leclerc coming into this weekend. I believe he needed to outscore us here if he wanted to try and keep his championship hopes alive. But with Isaac Hadjar out of the race as well, it looks like it could very quickly become a two-horse race between myself and Lando Norris. But with Norris way down the order, who knows what will happen as we head into those final couple of Grand Prix. Singapore and then... is it Vegas or Abu Dhabi? I honestly can't remember off the top of my head for our season finale. It's still highly likely that it comes down to the wire. But yeah, 3 laps to go then at this Grand Prix. Antonelli's pace has been ruthless throughout this third stint for him, second stint for us. He has been taking close to 2 seconds a lap out of me, as Joshua Pearce seems to have had an absolute nightmare. Strong qualifying yesterday, back into the pit lane though, with just a couple of laps to go. But I don't think there's anything we can really do against Andrea Kimi Antonelli at this stage of the race, as the Ferrari man moves to the inside of us, down in towards the Ascari chicane. Whoa! Can just see there, as soon as we're in the dirty air, this immediately hits the car. But I mean, that basically seals it, doesn't it? We've just got so much less grip than most of our competitors here. Antonelli, though, 2 laps away from winning his first ever home Grand Prix in a Ferrari, and he could be about to become the second youngest Formula 1 race winner ever. But as we are about to start then the last lap of the Italian Grand Prix here today, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, the crowd will be roaring his name from the grandstands, the Tifosi. It has been a tough old season. Ferrari have not won a single race so far. It has been dominated between Apex GP, Santander McLaren, and Nismo Red Bull Formula 1 team. But they have come back home. They have got an uber low downforce setup on that car. Antonelli, he took a gamble. He pit earlier than pretty much anybody else on a 2-stop strategy today. And then since then, it has been qualifying lap after qualifying lap for the young Ferrari-man. He joined the team. Charles Leclerc was always Ferrari's darling, but that is a move I would be so fascinated to see in the future as well. Antonelli to Ferrari, the Italian, for the Italian team, looks to be winning the Italian Grand Prix. I mean, it must have happened, I think, back in the early 50s, I want to say. Maybe in the 1960s as well. But it has been a long time coming for an Italian to return to the top step here at home. Through the final corners, Andrea Kimi Antonelli will become the second youngest winner of a Formula 1 Grand Prix. He will become the youngest winner of a home race in the sport. Out of the final corner, Andrea Kimi Antonelli has done it for the Tifosi here. Ferrari are back on the top step, but for me, that is probably the luckiest P2 I will ever get.
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes.
And as we've said so many times in the past, the checkered flag is out for our winner, Lewis Hamilton.
To do it as a team on home soil, that really means something special. And you can see how much it means to them, the drivers involved as well. Great job by them today, of course, as always. But for the fans watching on too, a great display of teamwork here today.
We had drama from start to finish, but in the end, there was only ever one that could take that top spot. And back on the top spots that he's taken so often in the past. So well done to Lewis Hamilton.
Well, there we are then. Andrea Kimi Antonelli from third on the grid. He will claim victory by just over 4 seconds ahead of myself. Ultimately, yeah, we just got lucky this weekend. I cannot describe it any other way. Just traffic, the one-stop strategy, and all of the AI battling each other. Sensibly, we might have had pace for, bottom end of the top 10, but everything came good for us come Grand Prix Sunday. Charles Leclerc, he will be a little bit disappointed from first on the grid to only finish P3, but ultimately a podium for Ferrari as well. A double podium for them. They will be ecstatic with that. Alex Albon, a brilliant drive to 4th. Bottas, though, from 15th to 5th as well. A brilliant race carving his way through the field. George Russell, Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, Verstappen and Behrman all inside your top 10. So a rather mixed up race when all is said and done. No idea what happened to Paul Aaron late on in the day. Anything up in P15. So must have had to take a late race pit stop there, as it was just Isaac Hadjar that failed to see the checkered flag. What does that do, though, to our World Championship with just 2 races remaining? Well, it means now, if we win in Singapore, that's it. Championship is done and dusted. Consistency has been key all year, and Lando Norris with a disappointing result today basically means for both him and Hadjar, if Hadjar wins in Singapore, the championship fight lives on. If Norris beats us, the championship fight lives on. If we win, though, it is done and dusted with a race to spare. Charles Leclerc still 9 points clear of his teammate, but unfortunately because of that result, out now of the Drivers' Championship hunt as well. Constructors-wise, Nismo now 5 points ahead of Apex GP, as the Drivers' Championship might not go down to the wire. The Constructors most definitely will. 10 points in it between your top 4 teams at the moment. I just need Joshua Pierce to deliver in those last couple of races as well. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure I leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns out at Marina Bay. Hello everyone and welcome to Marina Bay for the penultimate race of our F125 Formula Fantasy Career Mode. Yes, we return this weekend for the Formula 1 Singapore Airlines Singapore Grand Prix, of course. If you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from the Temple of Speed out in Italy, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. 2 races, 2 night races, 2 street circuits. It is going to be quite crazy as we head towards the end of the season. Quick sit rep with the World Championship permutations. We currently have a 25-point lead over Lando Norris at this stage of the campaign. So simply put, if we beat him here tonight, we will be world champion. Of course, that does also mean that I can't get outscored by Isaac Hadjar by 6 points or more. So a win tonight would seal the deal. But if Hadjar wins, it is guaranteed that the fight is going to be going on into that final race out in Vegas. Taking a look, though, after a very soggy, yet another wet qualifying inside this series. Spoiler alert, the Apex GP car sucked over 1 lap pace yesterday. Lando Norris, though, yet another pole position this season, just ahead of Charles Leclerc on the front row. Really does seem like Ferrari have taken a huge leap forward right towards the end of the campaign. Max Verstappen would line up P3 ahead of Carlos Sainz, with Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Franco Colapinto inside your top 6. George Russell just ahead of Gabriel Bortoleto then will make up row 4, with Valtteri Bottas and the second Mercedes AMG T-Mobile car inside your top 10. Pierre Gasly just ahead of Paul Aaron then in 11th and 12th. Richard Verschoor in 13th ahead of Isaac Hadjar, who has taken a grid penalty this weekend. Oscar Piastri and Nico Hulkenberg would make up row 8, just ahead of Sonoda, and then the first Apex GP car of Joshua Pierce there. Esteban Ocon, Ollie Behrman just ahead of Pepe Marti, and after qualifying originally down in P16, I've opted to take some grid penalties. Yes, this has become a last question mark challenge, so let's head down to the grid. Well, here we are then, down on the grid, ready for the Singapore Grand Prix, the penultimate race of this F1 Fantasy Career Mode, and, well, the situation's pretty simple. If Lando Norris beats me, the championship goes down to the finale out in Vegas. If we beat Lando Norris, then it's all done and dusted. I guess Hadjar as well, if he wins, he still mathematically has a shot. But yeah, with Isaac Hadjar also taking some grid penalties this weekend after his mechanical failure out at Monza, it's looking highly likely it's going to be between myself and Lando. But he lines up at the front, we line up right at the very back of the grid. So let's see what we can do here today. Team want us to go aggressive on the hard compound tyre early on, try and take that as far as we can, and then move over to a set of the medium tyres a bit later on in the day. So first couple of laps are just going to be about trying to stay out of trouble. 31 laps though here from Marina Bay. Let's see what we can do tonight. The 5 red lights are on. And it's the lights out, and away we go there. Actually responding fairly well to the lights for once. And immediately trying to have a look to the inside of the Chip Ganassi of Pepe Marti and maybe Ollie Bearman as well. Down in towards turn 1 there. Again, like I said, I just want to take it nice and easy through these first couple of corners. This Apex GP car was an absolute dog in wet qualifying yesterday, hence why Joshua Pierce is so far down the order. But we've got to hope we kind of come alive come race day Sunday there, as right on the outside of Bearman as we make our way out onto the Raffles Boulevard for the very first time. But Bearman immediately trying to come back at us then, so clearly doesn't want to spend too much time waiting around in that rocket road in, and hopefully our teammate Pierce won't be too much of a kind of issue either. Down the inside we will go as we head into the switchback section of Sector 2, but both Santander McLarens now 1 and 2 then in this race, so Carlos Sainz had a very, very disappointing return to McLaren this year, but hopefully now starting to get his act together as we we'll get towards the end of the season, as Esteban Ocon in that Genesis Magma car, everybody stacking up just in front. We will barely avoid picking up some front wing damage there, slapped the wall and then almost went through the back of that car, but clean around the outside we will go then, down at the hairpin. So we are up 4 spots so far on this opening lap of the night. I mean, yeah, Norris, he will be hoping, of course, that Carlos Sainz can just defend from everybody, give him a huge lead, so at the very least, heading out to Vegas next time out, he knows he has got a mathematical chance. But yeah, like I said, we just got to play the patience game early on, steadily ease into this race, and make sure we are there fighting at the end. There is not a chance we head to Vegas without a shot at the championship, so we've got to, score points, but it is not life or death for us. Here we go then, Yuki Tsunoda in that Repsol Williams, having to go a little bit defensive as we make our way out to the back straight once again, but yeah, normally Singapore is a circuit that we absolutely dominate on. I did feel quietly confident coming into this weekend, but the Apex GP car just does not feel that great around here, as obviously reliability has been quite a cause for concern. Over a lot of the campaigners, Paul Aaron, what on earth was that? Wasn't even kind of focusing on him, but he got so out of shape through those final couple of corners. We were lucky that it didn't collect us in the process. That could have been a DNF on lap 2. I just saw Richard Verschaw there up the road, slap the wall as we make our way out on towards the old Singapore sling. So I don't know if that's been some damage for the second of the Chip Ganassis, but what a disappointing year it has been for them so far, as up over the Anderson Bridge. It's a little bit more risky for an overtake, but needed to be done on the Monster Ford Andretti car there of Nico Hulkenberg. And I guess we're up another one. We've got yellows. Oh, that seems to be one of the Chip Ganassis. That must be obviously be Pepe Marti then at the rear of the field. Has he just gone for a bit of a spin? Yes, he has. Like I said, it really has been a tough old season for Chip Ganassi, and as one car... goes... Where's Verschaw going? I mean, I guess he's still the car in front. He can kind of dictate the line there, but just a tiny bit of damage. I don't know if that was on the front wing or on the side pod or what there, but yeah, the Dutchman clearly trying to give me a big old squeeze early on in this race, so we will try and make sure now that I seal the deal down in towards that final couple of corners once again. But yeah, not too sure what Verschaw's issue is, but I've navigated him anyway. Piastri then in that second Monster Ford Andretti's. We've got yellows out. Has someone gone spinning? Nope, looks to be a Ferrari. Don't tell me that's Antonelli. After the highs of winning the Italian Grand Prix last weekend, it is Antonelli out of the Grand Prix. So unfortunately, that means I can't go for any overtakes. But poor Andrea Kimi Antonelli then out of this race. Oh, I had a look on Piastri, but can't do anything with it. Oscar Piastri there, huge drift as we try and make our way out into the back straight. Clearly, I've got to give the AI a little bit more breathing room as we make our way down here. As again, Piastri though doesn't want to back out of it. Oh, we skimmed the wall through the exit there. So yeah, really, I'm struggling a little bit with kind of policing the front end of the car. Apparently, yeah, we did pick up a little bit of front wing damage then. I don't know if that was just then or with that contact with Verschaw last lap, but Looks then that Isaac Hadjar now up inside your top 10. Of course, he needs to outscore us by 5 points tonight. That does look unlikely for him. Oh, whoa! What is Gasly done? What is happening in this Grand Prix? I'm sorry. That's about the 5th different incident I've seen. And there we go. Haven't had many safety cars this season, I don't think. Unfortunately, yeah, had we been on the medium, that would have been perfect for us, and it might work out wonderfully for Hadjar, who might be able to go right the way through to the end of the Grand Prix, but I'm going to take the opportunity to pit as well. Obviously, we've got a little bit of front wing damage, so I'm going to take fresh tyres. We'll do basically a double medium stint to the end of the afternoon, but I'm kind of expecting to re-emerge right at the back of the pack. Well, there we go. McLaren have split their strategy then up at the front of the order. Looks like Norris is in, but Carlos Sainz has opted to stay out there, so actually quite a few teams opting to shimmy things up, try and mix things up then. At this stage of the night, is into the pit lane we go. Can obviously be very, very cheeky with the Delta on the way in. As long as I make sure I get it slowed down on pit lane entry. I'm hoping that we're not going to hold up Richard Verschoor too badly. Sorry, not Verschoor even. Joshua Pierce, as he's not even going to pit then. So I guess that eliminates that threat. But yes, both VWs then double stacking a little bit further down the pit lane. Like I said, we'll bolt on a new front wing. We'll bolt on a set of mediums and hopefully take another set to the end of the race. But for Hadjar and Norris, this is critical this afternoon, as... Oh, okay, that worked out fantastically. Looks like the Monster Ford Andretti's there, both of them pit. So that not only meant we stayed ahead of the pair of them, but it also meant that both VWs were blocked in the pit lane. Carlos Sainz then, I believe, is about to lead us away then here once more for the Singapore Grand Prix, but clearly this mod and Singapore are a little bit funky. I was watching Ollie Behrman up in front. Even under safety car, he was almost spinning out. So I think, yeah, the AI, they obviously, just with these Continental tyres, can get a little bit slip-slidey, especially, obviously, if they're cold under the safety car as well. But about to go green flag racing then once again. Let's try and make sure that we keep things clean and tidy throughout this next stint there. But I think things are about to get a little bit crazy. There's obviously a lot of cars on old tyres, a lot of cars on fresh rubber. So everybody will be looking to try and capitalise as best as they can, as all Marty gives me a big old squeeze down in towards turn 1. I was kind of thought he was expecting me to try and go for that overtake. I mean, we are in a World Championship battle, let's not forget as well. But hopefully Pierce, Sonoda, Behrman won't be too difficult to try and navigate either. So already I can see on the mini-map as well, Lando Norris trying to make some progress. I don't know where Hadjar is in this race as well, so I think he's further up the order. Because obviously Colapinto opted to pit to the inside of the Rocket Road in though. Make sure I just give him a big old squeeze on the way out. And there we go. We're immediately back up into unlucky P13. Oh, we got yellows. We got yellows. Is that someone breaking down or is that just someone having a moment? I think that was a Nismo Red Bull having a moment. And it was. Isaac Hadjar had a big snap of oversteer, making his way out towards the top of the circuit there. So not what he would have wanted at the moment, as we were trying to have a look around the outside of Yuki Tsunoda. I mean, where on earth have we found the gap there? Wrecked tyres against pretty fresh ones, and hopefully now Pierce... Okay, our teammate is apparently going to be... Well, he's put up one of the sternest defences we've seen so far since this safety car restart. As to the inside we will go, though, down in towards the final couple of corners. Are we going to seal the deal against our teammate there? Just about get around the outside. We almost got taken out by Paul Aaron earlier on in this race, so I'm hoping the same thing doesn't happen here, as he's running very defensive, seemingly everywhere around the circuit, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. As out onto the Raffles Boulevard we go. I mean, look at that! 3 wide up in front between the Nismo Red Bulls and Richard Verschoor. So, clearly Verschoor's just decided tonight he's going to fight everybody. It's all Hadjar! Plenty more contact as well. Somehow they all get away with it there, as they're still 3 wide. What on earth is this? We will get 1, 2 and all 3 of them off the exit of the corner there, and that could have not worked out more beautifully for us had I ever imagined it to. Up then into P7 we go, but far more fascinatingly, it is not Lando Norris that has pit. It was his teammate Carlos Sainz that opted to dive it in. All of those drivers that started this race on the mediums and didn't opt to pit, which I don't think there are many of, now would probably be about when you start to expect them to see peeling into the pit lane. Alexander Albon then trying to go a bit defensive in that Mercedes T-Mobile kart. Will we get all the way around his outside? Yes, again, we just about will. And the outside there seems to be one of my favourite overtaking places on this lap. And I'm going to keep using it whilst it keeps working. Well, to be fair to Mercedes, looks like this weekend has been a bit better for them. And on a lot of recent races have been, as this time round, of course, Max Verstappen. He's never just going to give up a spot, is he? Even when he's on pretty worn-out tyres at the moment. But yes, Sainz, though. Could he be a thorn in his teammate's side towards the end of the afternoon here? Don't know. Maybe Lando's on the hards. Oh, hello. As Verstappen there just tries to swing a little bit defensive. Make me work for it. But luckily we are through nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, effectively now for Sainz and I, if we can get ahead of Lando, everybody has got one more stop to go. These next few laps are critical. Oh, no. I don't know what it is. The back end of these cars seems to be so loose this weekend. As luckily we're going to be able to get back going then, and we'll have only lost a handful of spots in the process there. But a huge moment of oversteer as we made our way out towards the Anderson Bridge. Luckily, I'm able to keep Richard Vershaw at bay. But that might have sealed the deal for us then. We might never be able to get in touch with Lando Norris this afternoon. Just got over that curb and it punishes you. Well, there we go, our first driver into the pit lane though. That is George Russell in that Genesis Magma. So yeah, he was one of the only medium runners I think that had been out there since the start. So he's been able to take those tyres pretty far, and he should have no trouble on the hards to the end. There we go, I think Lando into the pit lane then. So I'm going to be really intrigued to see what tyres he was on in this race. He was, I believe, on the medium, so he's, yeah, been able to really extend that stint quite aggressively here. And should be pretty good on the hards to the end. Yep, I know how to use ERS. Oh, I was going to say, though, it really depends for Lando where he comes out back out onto the circuit. Annoyingly for him, it looks like he's going to come out in some dirty air. So that works out beautifully for us. Even if we can't beat him today, hopefully it'll mean that we don't lose out too many points. Have got to start thinking, obviously, about that finale in Vegas. About, you know, how good is this Apex GP car going to be? Based on Monza, not very. Already tried to do this once against Alex Albon, but I'll try it again then. As everybody's tyres really beginning to hit the cliff again. Honestly, I don't think the two-stop was a bad call here. The one-stop has not been particularly fun in theory. But the AI seem to be struggling with it a whole lot less as Verstappen and Leclerc both into the pit lane. So yeah, Hadjar, I'm pretty certain his title hopes are pretty much entirely evaporated now, but as Albon tries to give me a bit of hassle back into turn one, we will hold firm. But one thing I will say about this race so far is Norris now has been able to move his way back up to P5. AI are definitely able to overtake with this mod, which has led to some really intriguing racing so far this afternoon. I believe, though, for the first time, we're going to claim the lead of the race. There you go. Yeah, we are going to dive into the pits. Probably the end of next lap. Tyres don't feel that great, so I'm going to try and take this set one lap further, and hopefully that'll allow us to push towards the end of the afternoon. As Will Norris, new fast lap of the day, will he get the jump on his teammate once again? I think he just about will, and that is critical for Santander McLaren tonight. But of course, as always, if there's someone random on the podium, it's Valtteri Bottas. We're trying to do some quick maths and looking around the mini-map. Hadjar is down, but I don't believe he's out yet in this race. Yeah, thanks, Mark. I've only done a few races on this game, to be fair, so I do need reminding of that. But yeah, I'm pretty certain Hadjar, though, will be up to 7th after I've pit. So if we don't score, obviously he'll be 24 points back heading into Vegas. Sounds impossible, but when you remember, we've had 3 mechanical failures in the opening 8 Grand Prix. Anything could happen in these final few races there, as diving into the pit lane then with just 10 laps to go. Lando Norris, he's gone. McLaren have absolutely wiped the floor with everybody this weekend. Sainz is going to be back up to P2 then, but it does really depend on where we're going to come out relative to Hadjar in this race. Come on, team, give us a decent stop. There we go.
Okay, let's go now. Come on. Perfect job on the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one.
So we make our way then back out onto the circuit. There goes Isaac Hadjar, Joshua Pierce, and Alex Albon now all in front of us as well. So we will re-emerge, though, in 10th place. So I believe if it were to end like this, Hadjar would be 25 points back, but would lose it on countback. Well, I think far more worrying about that is, of course, if it does finish like this, Lando, Norris and I will be tied heading out into Las Vegas, and I want to have just a little bit of a buffer, especially, yeah, with how bad this car seems to be when it comes to top-end speed. Hadjar, though, still trying to make some moves, trying to keep himself in the hunt there, as he will jump Max Verstappen and move his way up into P6. So maybe Hadjar and I can work together towards the end and try and close down a few quicker cars as well as trying to do the all up and under on Alexander Albon. Again, how many times have I overtaken him so far this evening? Feels like every other move I do is on one of those AMG T-Mobile cars. And there's another. Oh, look at that Pierce as well through the final corner. We've just got so much more grip at the moment. And again, I mean, why is our teammate defending from me so much? Why? He's just constantly trying to go for it, and I don't know why at the moment. He's got nothing to gain. As a team, we have got so much to lose. Clearly, this is the Apex GP way. Absolute cinema. Right, come on then, Max. Let's see what he's able to do then. Again, the Dutchman always trying to defend from us at this stage of the race, but I just cannot. No confidence on the rear end on corner exit. I know this place is so heavy with traction zones, but really struggling with it. It's to the inside of the Dutchman we will go. A big, bold move there. And up back into P7 of this Grand Prix. So again, now Hadjar would be mathematically out of it. But at least it would give us a bit of a buffer ahead of Lando still.
Well done, but be aware, these tyres need to get us to the end of this race.
I mean, every single race that I've finished this season, we've been on the podium. I don't want that to end here. But I do feel a little bit sorry for Isaac Hadjar. He has been brutally... What? Pick a lane, buddy.
Strategy available on the MFD.
Oh, we can't afford to pit at this stage. I mean, he was on the inside and then he just completely moved across us, it felt like. Up towards the end of the Raffles Boulevard. How bad will the damage be towards the end of the Grand Prix there? And the second time we've had contact with someone tonight that, yeah, just seemingly the AI want to get very aggressive with it. Oh, I thought about having a look down the inside there, but figured that was a one-way ticket to losing the rest of the wing. But I was going to be quite sympathetic with Hadjar, but definitely not now, as we will force the car to the inside there. Out onto the back straight we will go. And hopefully now we will still seal the deal, move up into P6. Will we get it done all the way around the outside? Yes, we will. So, yeah, a bit annoyed with Isaac Hadjar there. And, well, now I'm not so sad that he's probably going to be eliminated from the title fight. He had been a bit lucky, though, with reliability this year. Lando and I both had a couple of failures. He had only had the first one out of Monza last weekend. Luckily for us, front wing damage in this mod doesn't seem to cost you as much downforce as it normally does inside F125, because often in the games it does seem to be a little bit extreme how much time and pace you lose. You know, you've seen it often in Formula 1. I think it was Leclerc this year, wasn't it, out in Shanghai. Didn't really lose any pace at all by losing a fair old chunk from his front wing, but as we will dive our way past George Russell then in that Genesis Magma, 7 seconds away from a podium, I think our streak might be about to come to an end. I do feel a little bit for Carlos Sainz towards the end of the afternoon. His pace looks so good. It looked nailed on that we might see a first victory of the year for the Spaniard, but it just has not worked out for him late on in the afternoon as his tyres have really begun to fall off. I don't think he's got any front wing damage, but I could be wrong here. I'm sure Santander McLaren will tell him, hold us up at whatever cost you can. Just make sure that help Lando out in the World Championship, but I still believe we can get a podium here. The gap to Leclerc now under 4 seconds, but we have only got 3 laps to go. Oh, here we go then. Here we go. 2 laps remaining to the outside of Carlos Sainz. Will we be able to get the move done again? The Spaniard will try and defend, but it won't be good enough, as we will inherit then P4 of this GP. But I don't want to alarm anyone. Leclerc seems to be struggling a lot. So does Lando Norris up at the front of the order, as here comes Carlos Sainz back at us in towards turn 1 there. He'll try and give me a big old squeeze out, but I will not back out of it through turn 1 and turn 2 there. Round the outside through turn 3. There we go. Seal the deal that time round. But annoyingly, that has given Leclerc a fair amount of breathing room as well. But Franco Colapinto, could he be on for a victory here tonight as well? The Nismo Red Bull driver seems to be very, very strong towards the end of the afternoon, as we will try and give Sainz a big old squeeze down in towards the end of the Raffles Boulevard. And hopefully, this is done for good now. Franco Colapinto can stop Lando Norris from taking an extra 7 points here. That'll be so, so useful for us as we head out to Vegas next weekend. He won't be thinking about that. He won't care one bit about that. All he's thinking about is that he could become a Formula 1 Grand Prix winner here around what is going to be one of Formula 1's toughest circuits. Can we try and reel in Leclerc on this final lap? We want to try and get to it. I want to keep my podium streak. But ultimately, the risk might not be worth the reward here late on in the night. But Colapinto now is really, really hounding Lando Norris even up at the front of the order. Will he get to him by the end of the Raffles Boulevard? Not quite that time around, as we are coming under increasing pressure once again from Sainz. Completely deplete the battery that time round, but normally, bizarrely, this is the section of the circuit where, even with the front wing damage, we are taking more time out of Leclerc. I mean, Colapinto up at the front is practically pushing Lando Norris along on this final lap now, but will he be able to find an avenue anywhere to get a run past him? We are still trying to reel in Leclerc. His tyres have basically gone at this stage. I mean, look at that through there. We're taking a good half a second out of him, and we will continue to do so over the exit of the Anderson Bridge. I don't think Colapinto, though, has got enough up at the front of the order. I think Lando Norris is just about going to be able to hang on here in Marina Bay. It's a critical win for Lando Norris late on this season. He will keep this championship hunt alive as we head to our season finale out in Vegas next weekend. But with a podium in every single race up to this point, unfortunately, all good things have to come to an end. P4 here in Marina Bay, but from the back of the grid, what a race!
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
And here he comes. It's all go, go, go for Lando Norris as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
There was never a moment of doubt today. You could tell that they completely had it under control, and that is a sign of greatness.
What a day it's been for Formula One, and what a day it's been for these three drivers. Time for the podium celebrations. Time for our drivers to celebrate. He holds the trophy aloft, and why shouldn't he? A richly deserved win today for Lando Norris.
Well, there we are. Lando Norris by just 0.7 of a second. A critical win late on this season. And like we said, that does mean as we head to the final race of the season, the championship will come down to the wire. Franco Colapinto did everything he possibly could right towards the end, but his first F1 victory will have to wait another day. Charles Leclerc, another podium for him ahead of ourselves. Sainz Hadjar, a valiant effort this year. Probably shouldn't have been in the championship fight, but to drag out as far as he did, very, very well done to him. Russell, Verstappen, Albon and Valtteri Bottas all inside your top 10. And, well, yeah, it looked like both Apex GP cars did kind of come alive come Grand Prix Sunday as well. Richard Verschoor, I believe that's Chip Ganassi's best result of the year as well, but it was just Andrea Kimi Antonelli that failed to score a point. What does that do to our World Championship? Well, it means now a 12-point buffer as we head into that season finale, so well, basically the same as obviously Lando Norris's advantage heading into Abu Dhabi a few weeks ago. All we need to do is finish on the podium, and there is nothing Norris can do to win this championship. Hadjar 34 back, pretty much guaranteed now P3 ahead of Leclerc. Colapinto, though, jumps Antonelli with that solid result, and still Valtteri Bottas up in P7 ahead of Carlos Sainz, with Verstappen and Behrman both inside your top 10. I think, yeah, it is still, yeah, like I said, everybody, Bar Verschoor and Pepe Marti that have scored a point this year. Joshua Pierce, though, down to 15th overall. Really has been a pretty disappointing campaign for him. Constructors-wise, though, with that result, it now means that we've got a 4-way championship decider as we head to Vegas as well. Nismo Red Bull, they don't have a driver in the hunt, but they are 1 point ahead of Santander McLaren. Apex GP in third, tied with Ferrari. But honestly, we're going to need a huge miracle if we want to try and wrap that one up as well. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns out in Vegas. It all comes down to this then. Hello everyone and welcome back to the finale of our F125 Fantasy Career Mode, where we return this weekend for the Formula 1 Avis Las Vegas Grand Prix, of course. If you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Singapore, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out, because it has left us 9 races down, 1 to go, 2 drivers with a shot at the Drivers' World Championship, 4 teams with a shot though at the Constructors as well. That of course is where the big prize money is, so I'm sure there will be a lot of eyes on this weekend here from the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Simply for us, a 12-point lead over Lando Norris in the Drivers' Championship. As long as we get a podium, that is it done. We are officially Formula 1 World Champion. But in the Constructors, a lot can happen. 1 point in it between Red Bull, Nismo and Santander McLaren. Ferrari and ourselves tied a further 19 points back, so we will have to wait and see as to what goes down. 0.003 of a second away from our first pole position of the year, but it was Lando Norris who claimed, I think, his 6th or 7th of the campaign. We never got a single one with Apex GP, but it hasn't cost us too much so far this year. Isaac Hadjar will line up just ahead of Charles Leclerc, so I mean all 4 teams in your Constructors battle are all covered by less than half a tenth of a second in qualifying. Antonelli and Bottas just ahead of the 2 T-Mobile Mercedes cars, with Russell and Hulkenberg inside your top 10. Carlos Sainz in that 2nd Santander McLaren down in P11, just ahead of Gabriel Bortoleto and Pierre Gasly on row 7. Franco Colapinto, a terrible effort for him, ahead of Joshua Pierce with a grid penalty, as Oscar Piastri, Paul Aaron on row 9, Ollie Behrman and Richard Vasseur on the penultimate row of the grid, and then Yuki Tsunoda and Pepe Marti at the back of the pack. Let's head though down to the circuit one final time this season. Hopefully we can come back as a Formula 1 World Champion. Well, here we are then, down on the grid, ready for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. 9 races down, 1 more to go, and with Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull, and Apex GP all with a shot at the Constructors as well, we've got to kind of play both games. On the one hand, I just want to make sure we win the Drivers' Championship, but on the other, with only 19 points covering all 4 teams, basically, whichever driver wins this race is going to give their team a massive help. Ferrari, they have both cars up inside your top 5 as well, so we will wait and see what happens here. 25 laps ahead of us, though, from the Las Vegas Grand Prix. This could be a really interesting night. The 5 red lights are on. As the lights out, and away we go there, and immediately getting a slightly better start than Lando Norris on the run in towards turn 1. Just make sure that we get the car slowed down nice and tidy there. It's got to be super careful with these Continental tyres in these rather cold conditions at the start of the race. And Lando Norris there able to fire up a little bit better there. That McLaren all year long has been very good on its Continental rubber. But we will still try and have a look down the inside. Oh, I think that was Leclerc having a bit of a dive as well down to the inside there. So just try to give everybody as much room as I possibly can. Let's not forget, we only need a podium here to make sure that we do enough to win the Drivers' Championship. So that's kind of goal number 1, especially, like I said, yeah, with Pierce way down the order. Going to be very difficult for us to wrap up the Constructors' Championship unless he can really move his way up the order. I mean, for Ferrari and us, you basically need to try and get both cars kind of within the top 4 and hope that a Colapinto or a Sainz really has some issues there, is just running into the back of Leclerc by the time we get out to the back straight. But yeah, I would expect Ferrari to be very good here. Of course, Antonelli dominated back at home out in Monza, and there you go, Charles Leclerc wasting no time at all trying to make a move for the lead of the Grand Prix. Will be fascinating to see how quick this Apex GP car is in a straight line as well. As here comes Isaac Hadjar as well. So 4 drivers from your 4 teams battling it out for the Constructors, all trying to give each other a run for their money early on, as Well, Norris hung on down the end of the strip there, but Leclerc will say thank you very much. I will try and follow the Ferrari man by as we make our way to start lap 2, but there we go, Charles Leclerc up to P1. Will we move up into second spot? Whoa, cold tyres again. Can make the car really, really oversteery. It's very, very active. Really trying to manage the car as best as we can. And it hasn't worked for us that time. Let's try and do a bit of a top speed test then. Let's see what this car is capable of. As we make our way back out onto the strip. Lando Norris trying to go for a run on Charles Leclerc. I mean, look at that, 220 miles an hour before we've even got to the DRS zone. And we're basically a VMAX already then as we get past the pair of them there. So that probably wasn't actually the best test of the straight line speed, as Leclerc again trying to come back at us down in towards the final couple of corners. But up to P1 we go, and well, again, Leclerc getting fantastic drive off of that final turn. He is not my big threat tonight. He's not the driver that I'm worried about. Well, here we go, Norris again then, trying to get a run. Where do you time it? As we make our way down the strip, as Antonelli and Bottas actually not too far behind. 3 wide we go, down at the end of the strip this time round, as we will still be wheel to wheel with Norris on the way in there. But yeah, definitely don't feel like the Apex GP car is the best one around this circuit. Really do feel like we have to be strategic, we have to be careful. But that's basically what we've done all year long. We've just been systematic, we've been consistent, and despite 3 DNFs, we still head here with a pretty decent championship lead. I honestly think at the moment that Santander McLaren just is able to work its tyres a bit better than everybody else. Hadjar in that Nismo Red Bull's doing a pretty good job as well. As there you go, Charles Leclerc immediately trying to find a way back through, and once again, I mean, this might be what it's like next year with the new kind of engine modes and stuff in Formula 1. You know, kind of this whole slipstream fest every single lap. Everybody's trying to go for it there as we Constantine are up out of the final corner. But that's immediately actually giving us a bit of breathing room. It's Antonelli now trying to move his way up into third spot as well. Could Ferrari, despite only winning 1 race all year and not having any driver in the championship battle, still end up wrapping the constructors up? That would be quite funny. Well, I hadn't realised as well, Carlos Sainz actually in that battle behind us. I mean, look at that, Antonelli and Norris really hounding each other, of course. If Norris wins, we only need a podium to be world champion. But if we were to DNF, Norris still needs to get a podium to be world champion as well. I believe we would take it on countback if we were to tie. So Lando Norris has got to keep that in mind as well here. Obviously, he's still got a lot to lose in this race. Of course, if he finishes 4th, it doesn't matter where I finish. Like I said, we could crash. We could end up with a 4th mechanical failure of the year. Anything could really happen there, but I'm just, honestly, it says how funny it's been this year. I'm actually worried about Valtteri Bottas lurking around in 7th spot right now, because he could still genuinely be a threat this afternoon. As here comes Norris once again to the inside. Again, we're not going to really be able to do anything there. Top end speed has never been this Apex GP car's strong point. As I said before, that Ferrari is an absolute missile in a straight line, but it doesn't seem to have the out-and-out speed here. It's kind of more hanging on than anything else, but for Antonelli, hanging on might be good enough to try and get a bit of a run on us as we make our way down the back straight. Let's try and once again to close in on Lando Norris there around the outside. I mean, look at that, 220 miles an hour, and Antonelli is still closing back in. So that Ferrari, yeah, is just nuts there, but again, they'll go side by side through the final couple of corners. I'm having to manage the throttle, though, so much, just to make sure that we don't light up the rear wheels. But again, we kind of pull away 8-9 tenths of a second, but can never get out of the DRS range. Well, coming towards the end then of lap 10, we are just still controlling this pace at the front. There's Joshua Pierce there. He's battling it out with, I believe it'll be Verstappen in that lead Mercedes-AMG T-Mobile car. But I mean, look at this! Everybody just closing in on us there as Norris tries to have a look to the inside. Antonelli to the outside. Got to try and make sure that I get it through. Whoa, as we get another huge snap of oversteer there, and that's how difficult it is. Oh, Lando hits me! Is that any front wing damage for Norris? We'll have to wait and see, as I can't quite tell on the end plate. No, I think he's got away with it there. So that could have been absolutely catastrophic.
So push now, push.
Team want us in at the end of this lap, but for Ferrari and McLaren, I mean, for McLaren it's pretty easy. You pit Lando first, don't you? For Ferrari, who do you box first in this race? Antonelli seems to be slightly quicker, but Leclerc, he might be able to undercut as Norris again Try and have a look to the outside. Antonelli, a little bit of movement down in towards the corner. Oh, there's even more contact between myself and Lando, as both of us struggling to get the car stopped. Will that front wing damage maybe cost us as well? Well, I want to make sure that we are leading the field by the time we dive into pit lane at the end of this run. So, again, 220 miles an hour before we even activate the DRS is absolutely ludicrous. But to the inside of Antonelli we will go, as looks like Sainz now trying to hassle his teammate a little bit further back. So, clearly, Papaya rules. They are still allowed to race each other at the moment. So, very, very wheel spinny out of that final turn. Is Antonelli going to pit? No, Antonelli opts to stay out then. So Ferrari, they're going to box Charles Leclerc then first, I would assume. As we will make sure they get the car slowed down nice and tidy. Sainz there and Leclerc both into the pit lane. So yeah, even Lando Norris wants to go one lap longer as well. So that's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out later on in the day. Maybe us three can get a bit of an undercut on the rest of them. As,
We have an issue removing the right front wheel. I know it's not ideal, but let's try and put it behind us now and get back into this race.
As soon as I got stopped in the box, I knew the team were going to mess that up. They've been pretty good over the last couple of race weekends, but I believe that is 7 of 10 this year. Maybe actually 8 of 10. I believe, yeah, Spa, Monza, and Singapore. They've nailed the pit stop, and we haven't had a mechanical failure. Every other race, either a botch stop or an engine blow-up. That's not a great track record. I think Charles Leclerc there might have been even more unlucky than us, because he's re-emerged 3 seconds further back now in this race, as Carlos Sainz there will try and jump George Russell in that Genesis Magma, but as our top 3, I would assume Hajar even, will stay out at least 1 lap extra and try to work, obviously have the advantage on the medium towards the end of the Grand Prix, but I would assume, yeah, Russell, he'll be into the pit lane as well, so we'll claim as much slipstream as I possibly can, as Pierce as well diving in. But how will Sainz and I be looking in this race at the moment? Antonelli still right there or thereabouts. But yeah, look at that. Sainz and I have got the jump. It's how we manage the tyres towards the end. I can only assume Hajar is praying for a safety car or a red flag or something late on in the day here, because at the moment we've gone 3 seconds faster than him over the course of this last lap. As to the outside of Carlos Sainz we will go. Can we get this one hooked up into the braking zone? Yes, we can. And I can only assume Hajar, I think he's the last car to pit in this Grand Prix. So Red Bull Nismo know they need to try and throw something different at it today, especially with, the Drivers' Championship no longer a consideration. To be fair, Colin Pinto's running a bit higher up the order now, so maybe he's back in the fight a bit more as well. But with the way things are panning out... Whoa, Sainz! It is looking like it's going to be McLaren that are going to claim that title. We go, here comes Carlos Sainz once again then. I mean, it's just every single lap, isn't it? As Antonelli trying to follow him by as well. Antonelli, a power move to the inside there. And he might be able to get the pair of us by the time we get down into the braking zone. Sainz, yep, not able to do anything. And Andrea Kimi Antonelli, I mean, he just seems to be able to dance that Ferrari on the limits around these really low downforce circuits. Up into the lead he'll go with less than 10 laps remaining. But Sainz, I don't believe, has won a race this season. We've had 5 different winners, I want to say, so far this campaign. Lando, obviously, myself, Isaac, Antonelli, and obviously Sonoda back in that crazy British Grand Prix. Could we get a 6th different winner by the end of the season? I mean, it would be mad if McLaren win the Constructors, but Sainz doesn't win a race, especially with his kind of previous success with the team as well. But Lando Norris, not forgetting about our World Championship battle that is still on the line. He will clear us once more, but it just has not been Norris's night so far. Really, that comment about Lando Norris has kind of irked him just a little bit, because he has immediately made it his mission to use the DRS there to get back past Sainz and Antonelli. I mean, I'm sure Carlos Sainz will be told, just, let him by if you need to, right towards the end of the Grand Prix. But temporarily then, it would have been Norris that wins this World Championship there, as what is the top speed of this car? 228 miles an hour as we try to dive this way and that, having a look for the move. Oh, more contact with Lando Norris as well there, as neither of us willing to give an inch late on in the night. But yeah, this now might bring Bottas and Leclerc back into the fight as well. And let's not forget Hajar. He's looking pretty racy as well still, pushing hard on those softer compounded tyres there. Back to the inside of Norris once again. And a power move. We needed to make it and make sure that he cannot run away. Well, heading out onto the strip then, about to start lap 20 here. Imagine if this was the start-finish straight here in Vegas as well. That would be absolutely ridiculous. But Lando Norris then at the moment desperately trying to find his way back through once again. But this is now a 7-car fight for victory at the moment. Like I said, Monza certainly did not end up like this. In fact, it ended up being quite strung out. One of the most strung out races of the entire campaign so far. But sliding our way through the final couple of corners once more. Lando Norris again will try and run away as best as he can. But look at that Bottas now trying to get into the fight. The Williams man, he's been a star this year. He's been a cult hero this season. Could he suddenly bring VW a first Grand Prix victory in just their debut season of Formula 1? Well, he's up to P3 out of nowhere. It could be on. And battling it out just behind us then. Are we going to see Lando Norris and I get a bit of a breakaway here towards the end of the race? Is it going to be a 2-horse race towards the end of the GP? I mean, you can already see tyre wear warning light has flashed up. We have not kept it particularly clean there. Just skimmed the wall on the exit of turn 2 on quite a few occasions. And that's what's done the big wear on that front left-hand tyre. But activate the DRS then once more. Trying to save a little bit of battery where I possibly can as well. To the outside of Norris we will go once more. Sainz now moving back up into 3rd spot as well. Let's not forget Hadjar really does need to outscore him. He ideally needs to outscore Lando. With Colapinto way down the order, I think he's going to be the only Red Bull that's going to score tonight. I honestly think at the moment it's going to be between McLaren and Ferrari. But with a little bit of a gap once again at the front now. It seems to be in McLaren's court. Whoa, hello. Lando Norris. Was not expecting a dive bomb there, but look at that. Norris immediately trying to go for it. Maybe trying to catch us out a little bit. And that has probably brought all the other cars back into this battle as well. As Antonelli trying to go for a move on Carlos Sainz. You can see there, Norris, when we're using the battery, we are still very, very quick in a straight line. As once again, our championship rival will have a look to the outside there. He'll try to outbrake us. Oh, wheel-to-wheel contact once again. I'm struggling to speak towards the end of this season. That's just how mental this championship fight has become right towards the very end. Looks like Sainz trying to kind of hold back the storm a little bit further behind there. As Norris again, will he have a look to the inside? We will just cover him off. Make it very clear that if he wants it, he's going to have to really put it all on the line to have it. I mean, we have got a lot more to lose than to gain at the moment, but I want to try and give Apex GP one last win this season. And I tell you what, at the time of recording, I still haven't watched the F1 movie, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. If it's anything close to as good as this series, then maybe I do need to give it a bit of a watch there. As Lando once again down the inside for turn 4. Whoa, to the outside. Was not expecting to try and make the move there, but Norris. Oh, we get a warning for a collision with him. Just got to make sure I don't get done for track limits. But what a move that would have been had we got it slowed down there. Not quite able to that time. And once again now, it's going to bring Antonelli and Carlos Sainz back into the fight there. Bottas, Leclerc, and Isaac Hadjar hasn't been much of a factor late on in the day. Still have yet to see a single mechanical failure though this afternoon. So we'll have to wait and see. I beg that isn't going to be us towards the end. It's always nice if everybody can make it to the checkered flag in the season finale. But to the outside of Lando Norris, we will go once again. With that DRS, we should be able to make the move happen. But I'm going to try and give Antonelli an avenue to the outside as well there. Will Antonelli be able to get it hooked up? We might have to back out of this one. As Lando Norris hits Antonelli. A big squeeze down to the final couple of corners. And that might be Norris's championship hopes completely dashed. With just 3 laps to go here as we will move back to the inside. He clearly doesn't want to have the pit at the moment. But Antonelli now up into the lead of the Grand Prix once more. Looks like one of those Chip Ganassi cars now as soon as I talk about no one retiring. Looks like one of them is going to break down. So is that Richard Vershaw? Is it Pepe Marti? I'm guessing it's Vershaw, to be completely honest. On no hunch whatsoever. Yep, there you go. It is Richard Vershaw out of this Grand Prix there. So a disappointing year for Chip Ganassi. And the first retirement of the evening as well there, as Norris now really beginning to get on the back foot here. Antonelli trying to scamper away for what would be just his second Formula 1 Grand Prix victory. I don't need to try and defend from Norris. Of course, if he comes second, I would need about P7 here, I want to say, to make sure that we still do enough to win the championship. And with how big a gap there is back to Verstappen in 8th spot, then I certainly would not complain about that one. What I'm actually thinking about more, of course, is that with Pierce still in the points, oh, hello. Could we still win the Constructors? I think it would require an incredibly tall order. But if we were able to beat Antonelli here still, and maybe Sainz drops a spot to Leclerc or something like that, could it still be doable towards the end of the year there? Another sweeping maneuver around the outside of Antonelli, but we know we are not each other's battle at the moment. He's got to try and think about the Constructors. I've got to try and think about the Drivers' Championship as get the power down through the final couple of turns. Of course, if we do outscore Ferrari tonight, then we will hang on ahead of them in terms of the Constructors' Championship as well. So that would be quite nice. And, well, with a Red Bull Nismo seemingly struggling, courtesy of Colapinto as well, a 19-point overhaul will be incredibly difficult to come by, but not impossible. We could either finish 4th, or we could still somehow potentially finish 2nd in the Constructors' Championship. We could still win it if one of those McLarens runs into issues late on in the day. To the inside, though, goes Antonelli once again. I mean, this race has been just action non-stop since the beginning. And I tell you what, this mod, if you haven't given it a go, if you're on PC, I mean, it made Singapore an exciting race inside the game as well. It really is good fun as something a little bit different. I'd love to just get the performance tweaks and use that for like a normal career mode as well in the future. But a lap and a half now to go of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Lando Norris still struggling, but he is still ahead of his teammate Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc in the wars as well, alongside Isaac Hadjar, whose championship has just steadily come undone. Valtteri Bottas as well, of course, still in that fight. But at the front of the order at the moment, it is Apex GP versus Ferrari. Could we bag another victory this season? Could Antonelli finish off the campaign with a lot of momentum underneath him, a lot of confidence? As we head into the new year, only time will tell. One lap to go, though. At the moment, the Drivers' Championship is looking very, very good. It's looking pretty comfortable for us. But that all still could change on this final lap of the Grand Prix, as Antonelli still trying to hassle us for this race lead at the moment. Purple through that final sector. And what a time to do it as well, but just trying to manage the tyres. Don't do anything stupid through the first couple of corners. Make sure we keep it clean and tidy there. I'm not even too worried if Antonelli gets a run on me here again, which I think he's probably going to. There is Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Another power move to the inside. Unlike at Monza, we are still going to try and fight this one right to the bitter end. I still would love to try and bag another victory, but we have got to be super careful of that tyre as well. Norris down to 4th, so if he would have finished there, he still would not be world champion, even if I retired from the Grand Prix. Can we do anything, though, against Antonelli one final time as we prepare ourselves to head out onto the strip? Quite funny in the end that it's been us two that have been able to break away in probably two of the sketchiest cars throughout this Grand Prix as well. But got to try and get the power down one final time. Get the throttle down as we make our way out onto the strip. Will Antonelli be a sitting duck here as we approach 220 miles an hour before we even get into the DRS zone? The Ferrari will use all of his available battery he's got left to his devices. 227 miles an hour, we go side by side. We clear him though on the brakes as we try and get the car slowed down in towards the final chicane there. We skim the wall again. That might give Antonelli a run out of the final corner. Have I made a hash of it? No, we haven't. Antonelli has not got the battery to the line. It is the win and the title.
Oh man, that's it. It's all over and you are the world champion. What a drive, what a season. Well done.
And so the celebrations begin, and well earned they are indeed. It might have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level at the very top is anything but simple. There's no catching them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. And it's the checkered flag and the win today for Sonny Hayes.
Well, a great victory today for the final race of the season, and you take that energy with you through the end of the year, through the winter break, and it's important because your team lives off of that. You want them to deliver you the best possible car for the start of next season's campaign.
What a day it's been for Formula One, and what a day it's been for these three drivers. Time for the podium celebrations. Time for our drivers to celebrate.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Honestly, I am shattered after that race as well. 1/10 of a second in it between myself and Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Charles Leclerc will finish third, making it a Ferrari double podium. Norris ahead of Bottas and Carlos Sainz as well, with Hadjar, Albon, Bortoleto and Joshua Pierce all inside your top 10. So yeah, disappointing for both Colapinto and Verstappen, who failed to see points come the checkered flag. In fact, Verstappen, yeah, fastest lap, but down in P12. Really not been the year he would have wanted down at Mercedes. Richard Verschoor, the only driver who failed to see the checkered flag tonight, but what does that do to our championship? Well, it means, of course, 25 points clear. If there was another race, we'd already have it wrapped up then ahead of Norris there. Hadjar will hang on for third, just ahead of Leclerc, who was very, very consistent throughout the campaign as well. Antonelli in fifth, ahead of Colapinto and Valtteri Bottas, with Sainz, Verstappen and Albon inside your top 10. Behrman, Tsunoda, Bortoleto, Russell. And I mean, look at that. Joshua Pierce, 15th place, his teammate world champion. Most races that we finished, we scored more points than Pierce did all year long. So take from that whatever you will there. Paul Aaron ahead of Gasly there, with Oscar Piastri, Ocon and Hulkenberg all with points on the board. Like I said, it's just Verschoor and Marty down at Chip Ganassi that failed to score all year. But constructors-wise, McLaren, Santander McLaren just hang on. 5 points clear of Ferrari. We ultimately stay in P3 there, but we jump Nismo Red Bull, who will be gutted with that come the end of the season as well. So had Antonelli beat us in that Grand Prix, Ferrari would have beaten Santander McLaren, and we would have lost out to Nismo Red Bull. So critical for both teams in the end. VW do jumped a Mercedes AMG T-Mobile, though, in that final race as well. So Mercedes down in P6. They'll be disappointed as well. Rocket Rodin, Repsol Williams, Genesis Magma, Monster Ford Andretti, and just Chip Ganassi, who failed to score a point. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, this series has been a bit of a funny one. I actually only really did it in the first place because I didn't have any driver career mode slots available. But obviously now I've got one back. Obviously we've already kicked off the Haas Road to Glory. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'll ever do anything again with my team inside F125. We'll have to wait and see in the future. But yeah, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful new year as well, if you don't watch another video before then. But yeah, 2026 is going to be an interesting year, but I'm looking forward to it.